All right. Two sort of special people here normally. One super special guest, Steve Hammond. What's going on, dude?
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. This is awesome. Thank you.
Steve, are you unburied yet, or are you still
Holy
grounding out there?
smokes, dude. This is Groundhog Day for sure. We've just got another storm coming in this week. And mate, we've literally got maybe 10 to 12 feet in the garden.
Feet?
That's so ridiculous. Kirk, you posted a video a couple days ago on some story, and you were trudging through, knee deep, ankle deep snow, and you're like, "This is a lot of snow." And
It was crotch deep, Jack.
okay, all right.
Let that fool you.
Is your crotch 10 to 12 feet off the ground? I don't think so.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah, we're breaking records as we speak. I mean, it's been a little insane, but we're coping. The kid went off to school this morning, and it's like we just keep living.
Now, is this good, this amount of snow? I know like water is a premium in California in particular, but like, is this too much? Like, what is it? Or is this like going to be good long term? I don't quite,
Of
dialed
course,
in.
it's definitely taken us out of the drought side of stuff. It is good, but it has come at some expense for sure. Like there's been 50 to 60 inches of rain fallen in like the flats of San Francisco to Sacramento, and it's caused flooding and trees have fallen down. There's been storms, and like there's more flooding to come as well, because all the snow that's up in the Sierras, like 50 feet of it is going to come down into the rivers at some point. So the good news is that all the reservoirs are going to be full. At what expense? Roads, landslides, that kind of stuff. It's definitely come at a cost. Even walking around my neighborhood, there's been collapsed houses. There's been like a lot of damage up here. Thankfully, we've kept on top of all our snow removal and cleared the top of our houses and our neighbors' houses as well. So it's been a very big community effort, but it's an extraordinary an event, as it were. It's a snow event for sure.
Now, Steve, I've got a question for you. Are you kind of preparing your son for being like, this is what I used to walk uphill in both ways to school? Like, are you able to use that as a story?
He will.
He
will actually.
It's funny because at 5 years old, he doesn't care. He's like, I mean, he's literally walking out of this like wall tunnel to, out the house to school, and he doesn't know anything different. He's just like, oh yeah, it's snowing again, whatever.
I saw an article about all the problems traffic-wise and accident-wise coming out of the mountains into the valley or the lake. Was that clickbait or was that true? Are people just running into shit out there
every weekend? Well, I mean, we've got a huge catchment area from like, San Francisco, the Bay Area, and a lot of people come up not quite prepared for the amount of snow that we have been getting. So people without proper snow tires or chains and that kind of stuff, and one crash or one spin out can cause massive backups. And at one point there was like 150 cars stuck on the side of the road, and abandoned cars left, right, and center, and then snow removal can't do their work. So being up here and where we're at, we're actually pretty good, but it can cause a lot of delays, and it's been interesting having multiple snow days with family at home and that kind of stuff. But yeah, we've worked it out, and but it has been a bit of a, let's call it a shit show up here.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing when we start seeing Spartan Race, there's gonna be a bunch of snow-inspired obstacles. That's all that's been on your brain. That's what we can expect. Like maybe some sleds. What else could we have?
I want a snow course. They had it at Greek Peak in the past, and
that's true.
They have several in Europe, and I'm like, I want one of those in the US. Make it happen, Steve.
Snowball toss.
Was it Valmoral? It was an awesome event in France. Yeah, it's just.
Why would you put it anywhere else other than Tahoe in, let's say, February?
Yeah.
You might lose a few participants out there.
Yeah.
But
No
Spartan
kids
up.
race, they'll all be trapped in the snow.
It'd
Spartan
be
up.
epic, absolutely epic. Unfortunately, a lot of the, it's the US ski areas are not interested in hosting any events. Unfortunately,
Believe it or not, yeah.
believe it or not,
They can make more money with
I
the
wish.
skiers. Yeah.
But what comes with snow comes epic skiing, and the skiing has been, some of the best I've ever had for years and years and years. It's incredible. So, lots of skiing.
So appreciate you having you on today. We're going to talk about the Savage Series, which just kicked off for their first race of the season down in Georgia. What
No
town?
snow there.
No snow there. It looked just like looking at it. It reminded me, like, humid spring day. I think it was the conditions are pretty
Very
good.
green.
Beautiful.
Not the night before.
Green.
They had a delayed start because there were like overnight storms.
OCR Report is taking over for Savage this year, and the coverage is really good. Right,
That's awesome.
Very clear, easy to follow coverage pieces. So shout out to them. They're doing a great job, and like really pulling for them to like continue to keep that thing moving forward. So Jack, you watched. Kirk, you saw the results. Steve, you watched. So I'll pull up the results here in a little bit, but let's just start on the men's side of things. Jack, what were some of your takeaways on the results on the men's side for the Savage race?
Yeah, I would say experience kind of matters. If you watch the race itself, there were several new obstacles, and it's not like the higher end athletes aren't going to be able to figure them out for the most part, but if it takes you 5-10 more seconds on a few of them, that adds up over the course of the race. So that's why I was confident that Ryan Kempson would end up coming out ahead. And then we didn't know if Sean Roberts was going to show up. I think Bracken did the Chris Brown pick and just was like, hey, if he shows up, he's winning. So, but yeah, he did better. And then Rylan, who might be the fittest of everybody, he ended up getting third, I think a little bit due to inexperience. So yeah, I think that just having some experience on Savage like obstacles beforehand definitely mattered.
Steve, what do you think? Have you done a Savage?
I haven't actually done a Savage. No, I've done a lot of different other obstacle races, but mainly in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
But Savage is always one that I really, really would love to go and do one, because just the technical difficulty of a lot of the complex obstacles and the variety of it just looks so awesome. And I think that's where Kempson, that's his expertise. He's so adaptable to, crawling through a net to, a really technical rig and then back into the running again. And that's where he shone for me, on Saturday.
He just knows how to do it. It seems like he's like the know-how on his, and this is something I want to talk about in this episode. Is like, what are the factors that really go into a successful obstacle course racer?
Mm-hmm.
Because we look at Sean Roberts, who has been practicing considerably, and he gave him a bit of a run. I mean, it was still about a minute, and Kempson was kind of by himself for a lot of it. But Sean Roberts ran pretty strong. To beat Rylan by like 2.5 minutes is
Mm-hmm.
no joke. But still, like, Kempson just knows how to get through. So it's not surprising. We talked about it before in last episode, like, well, who we predicting, who we think is going to come out. And Kempson just shows up and just takes care of business, even if it seems like if other people are that much more fit than him, it just doesn't really matter.
I think when it comes to these kind of obstacles, like they're going through them pretty quick, but even a 2-second advantage on each obstacle, and there's a load of obstacles in there, gives a 30-second gap. And say if you've never really seen some of the obstacles like Rylan, having that 2-second deficit on 10 obstacles, that's a lot of time,
and just think of where Kempson's had success. He's done really well early in the season in Jacksonville, Alabama, West Virginia. So like those humid East Coast courses with sloppy footing, like he's gonna succeed on those courses. So there's no reason he wasn't going to dominate this. He's done really well in Savage in the past, and he's just one of the best obstacle racers out there. And then you add in that technicality, it just helps him separate from the pack even more.
Yeah.
Kirk, what's your take?
He's one of those guys where he's still a mystery to me, even after all these years, if I'm being honest. I follow most of the top end guys on Strava. Not that I comb through things, but you see them as they pop up. Rich, I know you got off of Strava a while ago. You're done with that. But he's skiing every day. He's doing these other things every day, and I see very little running or anything that would indicate race specificity. So when we predicted this last week, I was like, dude, all I see are videos of Rylan in the gym just going ham and going through obstacles and at the Ninja Gym. And then I open up my Strava and there's Ryan Kempson backcountry skiing for the 16th time this week. And I'm like, well, of course, Kempson's not going to win. He hasn't been training specifically. This will be a rust buster for him. And I'm wondering if he's sort of like the Ryan Atkins, new age Ryan Atkins of Savage or Spartan, where it doesn't matter what Atkins has been doing. He's going to show up and give everybody a run for their money. And again, Strava doesn't tell you everything, but according to what I'm seeing, Kempson wasn't training specifically for this race, yet he went and mopped the floor with them. So it's just an interesting note. It's just an interesting note.
So the benefits of backcountry skiing, skimo, it's what I do day in, day out, or have done a lot of this winter. The benefits, I think a lot of people don't really realize how awesome it is for running and how actually it transfers to a massive energy. Maybe not necessarily leg speed, but you could just do 1 or 2 days a week on that and do the rest backcountry skiing. Look at the likes of Remy, Killian, John Albon. What they do all winter is walk uphill on skis. And I mean, it's an insane fitness thing, because without the impact from running, you get the same benefits cardiovascularly, high heart rate, that kind of, in a high zone constantly. And I think you get that feeling almost like, especially when you're skinning quickly uphill, that I know Kempson does. The benefits are a lot more greater than you think.
So I would, I was just going to say, to follow up my point though. So I agree with you. And if it was like, let's say he hopped into like a half marathon trail race or a mountain
course, yes,
Spartan race, I'd be like, yeah, for sure this translate. But because Kempson is a ball sport athlete, we can't forget that. Like, that dude has moved through space laterally his whole life. So maybe in his case it works because it's such a technical aspect, Savage, right? Like, you still need to be an athlete on top of being a runner. So I think for him it works. I don't know if that would work for everybody, but I think for him with his background is why it works so well.
Yeah, and don't forget, Emma Cook-Clark did the same thing last offseason. Then she goes to a super flat San Luis Obispo course and just runs away from everybody for most of the course until she fell off of Olympus. So there's a reason people do it, and you just see it time and time again. I think that, Steve, you mentioned you get that non-impact going uphill thing. A lot of people, Kirk, especially you use an incline trainer a whole lot on steeper grades. The benefit of some of the backcountry skiing is now you can practice your downhill. And you have to absorb it in your quads and go down and figure out how to pick lines and stuff. So I feel like you're getting a little bit of an advantage there as well, prepping for the other part of a course. You go uphill, but then you got to go downhill. So I think that might help you out as well.
And that was something with this course that I heard from a bunch of different athletes of how gnarly it was. Like, it was really pretty technical. There was like real thick mud. And maybe it is just like this intangible skill piece that you can pick up from downhill skiing, right? Like, how to kind of control yourself when like it's not like your real footing that you're needing to deal with. So maybe that's it. Maybe can we do skimo all year and then just see how it goes?
Yeah, like that? Let's go to the Southern Hemisphere during the summer.
Yeah, just come to Tahoe in the summer.
Yeah, you guys are never gonna get rid of that snow. You guys are skiing. You're skiing everywhere.
I'll be skiing all the way into June, July, I'm sure. So
yeah. One other thing, did you guys pick up on Kemp's? I don't know if he posted it as a story or a video or just a regular post, but he said something recently about how he does lower heart rate obstacle practice like throughout his runs, where he'll go, he'll just be running and then he'll hop over a picnic bench, or he'll find something to do like a quick grip thing on. He'll do a bunch of stuff in the 120, 130 heart rate range. And he said that he started doing that because there were some CrossFit coaches with high level athletes who said basically do thrusters and snatches and all these other Metcon workouts at a lower heart rate. You're still getting the work in, just not killing yourself. So I wonder if that's part of his success.
be easier to work on the skill set of things.
Yeah.
And you can be a little bit more controlled. And you can get more reps that way as well.
It's hard to argue that somebody like VJ Jones is one of the smoothest people through obstacles, and he trained that way once per week. That was part of a regularity at Black Forest OCR. I don't know if he still does that, but I know that was part of his sauce, wasn't it? So makes sense.
Yeah, he'd do a lot of like run for a few minutes on a treadmill, hop off, do 10 pull-ups, get back on, just keep your heart rate low, but just getting the minimal amount of work to get used to it.
Do you think that's benefit is in physical, or is that more mental, getting used to a high heart rate going into these obstacles and then out of the obstacles quickly? Because we all know that's very beneficial. But I think there's a mental aspect of like, feeling that real uncomfortable, because we see that a lot in like the age groupers. They come into an obstacle, they stand there for a second or two, look at it, and then go through, where, the difference is the top athletes will run a little bit quicker in, get through the obstacle, and then run out at the same pace, which is something that you have to practice, right?
I don't know. All I know is when I saw you in SoCal, when I came down there, I had done no high intensity obstacle work, and I was surprised at how much of a hit systemically I took.
Right.
Going through them. Whereas I was doing in that low grade, I was doing grip work and overhead work at like recovery heart rate, and that wasn't really a problem. But when it came to 170 plus heart rate, it felt like I was starting all over. So for me, there's something to that.
I mean, I always think specificity matters, especially in these competitions. And maybe something like doing the low end work, like you mentioned, Jack, is kind of like base training. And then there could be some high intensity stuff that's sprinkled in there when it's really time to go. I know that's how I would probably want to do it, because I need to feel it. I need to understand the demands. I need to adapt to them to make it, to feel, mostly just to feel confident. Steve, to answer your question, it's like probably some physical, but for me, it's probably a little bit more mental. It's just like, I know that I won't die doing this.
Yeah. I think that there is benefit to lower heart rate style training and getting those reps in, though. It's kind of like the double threshold that is super popular with a lot of training methods right now. You don't
super popular on podcasts too.
I may have listened to it also.
Most popular podcast of all time.
So go listen to Running Public if you want that 2 weeks ago. But yeah, I think that you described it well, where you essentially are getting almost all the benefit with way less pounding versus doing stuff at higher end of speed. So you just get more reps and you just get more comfortable running with an essentially perfect stride at that point. And it's not really different than doing obstacles perfectly. You're just going to speed up slightly during the race, but you're so familiar with what it's going to do to your body that by the time race day happens, you'll probably do a few reps at a higher intensity beforehand just to like know that true feeling. But having all those easier, way more reps, higher volume from throughout practice doing that Kempson style training, it clearly works.
Speaking of Kempson specifically, I didn't watch the race like you guys did, but I saw the results. I gotta say, this is more of a statement race than it appears for Kempson for a number of reasons. Like, remember if it was last year, Kempson was saying, I'm not in the greatest shape, but I'm still going to show up, right? He was sort of in that. He had other life stuff going on. He's working on his house. And then it's like, you just kind of wonder where he's at. And we see, like, we get all lost in the hype of these new guys, right? Like, I got all stuck on Ryland. Like, Ryland's going to go there and wipe the floor with them, right? I'm as guilty as anybody. And it's like throw anything you want at the guy, right? Kempson won the series last year. He shows up and whoops everybody this year, whether it's tenureship or not. Like, I don't know. Kempson's kind of the Atkins of the Savage series, and I hate to say it, but it is true.
The Yuri Force, the new Yuri Force.
Well, it's true, and now it's like, why would you doubt the guy? How could you possibly doubt the guy? And I can't imagine he's full. Well, whatever, Jack.
Yeah, I don't know, Jack.
You probably
look up the video.
Yeah. Nope.
Well,
anyways,
I was expecting Ryland to wipe the floor as well, but this goes on with how serious was he? He was wearing a GoPro. He was like rocking up. He was like, is this like the Ryland who's going to absolutely destroy Decker or that kind of stuff? Like, how serious was he in this competitive race?
I think
and
he
how
also
ready was he? They
mentioned on the broadcast he still has a little bit of an injury.
He was dealing with that over in Dubai.
Yeah. So I mean, and we'll talk about him a little bit later when we're talking about Deca, because he's gonna be there as well. But he's
It would explain all this cross training focus and why it served him well in hybrid.
He tricked you.
Somebody was
He tricked you with that.
freaking he button hooked me. I didn't know he was
Gotcha.
But Ryland's the most. Yeah, go ahead.
Somebody was asking me, because I've been pretty vocal about the fact I'm not going to chase the 3K series. I'm just not interested in it. And then somebody's like, what about Savage? And I'm like, you know what? You're right. What about Savage? I can run longer. I can enjoy that, which I want to. Yeah, I can still train like I want to. But the thing with Ryland and the thing I was saying is like, yeah, and I think I could be competitive, but I got to show up to probably at least 2 races, maybe non-series, before I can really go throw my hat in the ring and have a real chance, because those guys are so good. There's no way, even if my fitness is better than theirs, I'm going to get my butt wiped by them.
Well, like they just will come up and just like help you out at the end of a BS. Get you on your way.
Getting your butt wiped sounds kind of nice.
Yeah, butt whooped is less nice. So in the series, there's 7 races that qualify for the series, right? And only 5 count. So maybe this was what Ryland was doing, right? Maybe he came in to get that experience, see what everybody's got, like really see what a Sean Roberts is like on a course that's longer than a 3K. Because I don't think he's ever really raced them in an event longer.
They both did the 3K at OCR Worlds, and I think that they finished one place separated from each other.
Right. And but the 3K for a Sean Roberts isn't extremely scary in a 3K mountain, but you put him on anything that's like flat for a little bit, you can actually like probably feel what it's like to be next to him and be like, oh my God, this guy actually has
a level
gears that I don't have. So maybe just to race someone like that, see Kempson on the course. Maybe that's why I wore a GoPro to like get data, go back and look at it, try it again. Maybe, because I mean, he can drop this one. This was the first race of the entire series, and you get your 5 count. So maybe he's just going to drop it. Maybe, and he's doing what you should have done, Kirk. You should have been there too with a GoPro.
Too late.
Are they in Savage? Are they allowed to go and test like some of the obstacles beforehand, rock up the day before, run around? Is there?
So.
Not that I'm aware of.
I think it's similar to Spartan that way.
Good, got it. Because it did seem watching the live feed that like, I mean, Kempson knew exactly where he was, what he was on the obstacle, straight in, straight out. Where there was a second or 2 delay on, some of the other races, and I think knowing the obstacles may really help or benefit that. And I wondered if that was a slight advantage or not.
Yeah, they had some cool ones also, like that give and take with Gibbons. Did you see that one?
They didn't have that as part of the series race. That was just for the open waivers to test out, but that did look cool.
Oh, okay. Because I saw everybody on it at one point.
There was 2 obstacles, I believe, that were like that. They were kind of like beta testing.
Okay,
and,
that's a cool one.
The give and take was Anchors Away with Gibbons, I believe, right? That's pretty gnarly.
They were very bold to put out brand new obstacles for like their championship race, which was quite impressive because they hadn't tested all the obstacles, correct?
I don't know. I don't know.
I've never seen that tire.
Tire thing,
throw
thing, the Tootsie Roll situation. I just we didn't get to see the duck walk on camera, so I just messaged Riker to see what I haven't heard anything about it because we made such a big deal about how silly that is. But
which one?
So they have one called. Do you remember what it's called? Block something.
Pretend you have like 4 brick size objects, but go ahead, Rich. That's about the size of the things.
And from what I understand, you have to cover a certain amount of ground using these 4 blocks, like walking on these 4 blocks. So you like put one block ahead.
Like a bear crawl.
But you have to
switch each time that you move.
Yeah, it's not affixed to your feet. So you kind of be like squatting down, moving the block in front of you and moving to the block and then reaching back and then moving forward. And maybe you could bear crawl if you can like scooch it forward, inchworm it.
Yeah.
But I didn't hear anything about that, so I'm going to try to get some intel in real time. I got IT on it. Okay.
Yeah. What's an update on? I mean, he's like super keeps things close to the chest, Sean Roberts, but we don't have any update on what he's doing for training. Like last thing we heard from him, he was had a chip on his shoulder and was training with Woodsy in the mountains. Like, and then I don't know what he's been doing for the last year and a half. Like, do we have any clue? Anybody?
It said Boone, North Carolina, so I know he still lives there, I guess, based on the results. So if he's there, I'm sure he's training with Ryan Woods, who I saw was in like Napa, or I think he's in California at some winery right now. But I was a little
good lad.
Yeah, always.
I was surprised not to see him, but I think it seems like Woods is kind of at the end at this point. He might not be, pursuing series anymore, just kind of what he likes doing. But yeah, I'm sure Sean Roberts, he just missed the podium. He got fourth 2 years ago and fifth this year in the 3K, I believe. I know the fifth for sure, but it's like he's got to want that podium at Worlds. So I have a feeling he was in the lab all year, just trying to figure things out.
Well,
he would be very useful at the Spartan 3K. If he ever comes back to Spartan, he would be so useful at that kind of distance on those 30 obstacles.
So fast.
Yeah. The interesting thing about Sean, I've talked to him maybe twice, right? And like Kirk said, he's media adverse. You could say keeps things.
He's cool in person though. I spent a few hours with him.
I didn't say he wasn't cool, Jack.
All right, I won't misquote you.
Yeah, you shouldn't. I enjoyed my conversations very much with him. He's a track guy, speaks that language. But like he got to a point that most athletes won't get to, and to put yourself in track and field, right? And to commit yourself to that level of excellence, it's hard to sustain for like a lifetime, So for him, it's very much like where does his motivation lie with OCR, and how much is he going to want to put his full effort into it after he has the experience to know what that takes. And I don't think he's quite there to do it. Another thing that he mentioned was with OCR, how uncomfortable it is so soon. Like it's just uncomfortable immediately. And that wasn't something that he was used to. But in this race, he was basically by himself for a lot of it. And he continued to push. So I think he's learning that part a little bit more. How all in he's going to go. I wouldn't guess that we're going to see the same type of commitment that gave him a 147 800 that into OCR, but he might just learn the sport a little bit better, which will be interesting to see as the Savage season goes on.
John Roberts could probably win with the fitness he's always had since he entered the sport day one, right? It's just probably the skill work, you would think, if he refined, right? I don't know if would it take more dedication on the fitness front from him? Probably more just dedication.
It wouldn't hurt. Like right. Like if he could probably cover that gap because his fitness ceiling is so high that he could make up for a lot more.
I think it's definitely terrain skill. That's probably the one limiting factor for him, because he's got the athleticism, he's got the top end speed, he's a good rock climber. Like he can clearly run downhill. We've seen that in some other courses. I just haven't seen him on some of like the long technical climbs or technical descents. And just my guess, that might be where the only thing that he's missing is.
Yeah. Well, like moving through the obstacles quickly. I mean, not that they're as technical in Spartan, but you have to move quickly through barbed wire and rolling mud and dunk wall and bucket carry and that kind of stuff, which is, a lot of it is moving quickly on shit ground, which is a skill within itself, not necessarily foot speed.
So this is something that this moves into what I want to talk about pretty well. I would like to take some time and list out just like the different elements that we think would make a successful OCR athlete, right? And then I want to break it into some different pieces as to like, we'll put it into a pie graph, Jack, so you can see it, you can quantify it, and then we'll
wheel names.
We'll kind of play. We'll just wheel names for what the most important is. Because we haven't known names in a while. Maybe in 2023 soon.
Yeah.
So, Steve, if you were like what's like one element that we had been talking about that you can kind of put like an attribute that an athlete would have that would lead to a successful? I guess we could just kind of go around or just kind of spitball all together. But Steve, kick us off.
Obstacle proficiency. So moving through. So this is almost sort of 2 or 3 parts. So obstacle proficiency is obviously moving through the obstacle quickly, but moving into it and out of it as efficiently as you can, as quickly as you can, and whatever the transitions, That's what definitely I've done a lot of camera work and a lot of like, I see people through obstacles, and that's where I see gaps. It's not necessarily, on the run-in, it's actually on an obstacle where I see gaps being formed, and it's that proficiency through there.
So that's perfect. That could be like one bucket that we'll talk about, obstacle proficiency. Like what fits into that bucket, right? Like grip strength could be an element, right? Like what are the other elements that we would think would fit in this bucket of obstacle proficiency?
Say fearlessness downhill.
Okay, so it's
because you might be able to go a minute faster on a longer climb, but you can the miles per hour difference when you're going downhill versus uphill is so much greater. And I've seen so many people lose 30 plus seconds, just like Steve mentioned with the camera work and Spartan. Like I'm there with good downhillers when I'm following the top women, and I've seen some not good downhillers, and that's where you see a lot of moves being made when you're
the risk versus reward for the downhill for sure.
I think fearlessness, or we could this could be under like grit or something like that, right? Because that's a big part of the sport. That could also, yes, for downhills for sure, but also things like barbed wire, like Steve was saying, like true. Not worrying about like your health going on doing things. So fearlessness, I think I like. Kirk, you got something for us? What do you got?
Well, yeah. I mean, your pure run metrics have to factor into this.
Thank you. Fitness.
The two guys on this side of the screen, of course. Obviously it matters. Best runner.
That still leads the way. So run fitness. Let's just put that on top. Would we say? Maybe. That's what I'm saying with Savage.
Like, did the fastest athlete win? No. And like how much of it mattered. So run metrics. So for this, we could.
Kempson's not a bad runner though. On flats, look at his stride. He is a fluid looking runner.
He's a great runner.
Yeah, he ran beautifully, and you could see that as well. You could see how efficient he was.
If you put words in my mouth one more time, I'm coming down there, and I'm gonna
do it. You know what state I live in? Yep.
Yeah, I do. Straight line to get there.
Yeah, why don't you run here? If you put Kempson in a road 5K or in a track 5K, he's not there are very few OCR athletes who are actually impressive as runners.
Sean beats him by a minute.
Yeah,
in a 5K.
Exactly. Yeah,
which is really, you think so? What would Sean run in a 5K?
I mean, say Sean runs 15 flat, Kempson runs 16 flat.
Yeah,
maybe.
That's about what I think.
Yep. That's not even the same race I'm in a 5K.
Right. That's almost getting lapped on the track.
For sure. So run metrics. Are we lumping like climb? Is climbing in terms of running a different skill, a different component that we want?
I would vote strong, yes, but
strong, yes. Okay.
Yeah, you have to think.
My transition into Spartan was absolutely horrifying when I went to climb my first mountain. Realized I was a POS, so it wasn't run fitness.
You guys can probably agree though, if you're a fast flat runner, you're probably going to have more success going uphill than being a good uphill runner going on the flats, because the turnover and it just translates better if you actually have pure foot speed.
I think it's an easier transition.
Easier, yes.
If you train it, but
it's not guaranteed.
It's not going to work right away.
I get it. Yeah. But to add on to your uphill, Kirk, there are two different styles also, like uphill hiking, uphill running, knowing when to have that turnover, like when it's the right time to start hiking. And because a lot of people sometimes it's like, oh, well, I started walking, now it gets in your head that you're allowed to do that the rest of the race. Other people are like, the second that I start walking, I'm just not even going to allow myself to walk one step during this race, because as soon as I allow myself to do it, it's game over. I think you're one of those type of athletes, right, Kirk?
Stubborn?
Doesn't help. No, if I say run motion, it serves me much better than starting that song and dance and going back and forth. Yeah.
Same. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
But I think that for the uphill, I think there's, like two different skill sets. I mean, like the Mark Battresses, who's phenomenal at the 10, 11% fire roads. Yeah. That's where he really excels. And then when you get onto the 18 to 20%, super steep hills where it is hiking, power running. And,
Tyler Veerman is so good at that.
Really good, Josiah and Josiah Medal. Lars really good, Atkins obviously, and I think that there's a massive difference to see Mark. Let's talk about Batters for a second, like how good he is on that 10% to where he lacks on the 20%.
I very much agree with that. They're almost separate. It's almost like flat running, 10-ish% running, and then 20% plus. That's almost like they're completely different.
Yeah,
all three of those.
Can we separate it into like mountain running? Like, because would someone who's better at a really steep incline, would you think it's fair to say that they're going to be a better descender as well?
You think
not always?
No.
In those examples that you,
because downhill is a skill, and you have to practice that skill. So you don't necessarily. I don't think it always translates.
Who gets to the top of the hill first and who gets to the bottom of the hill first? It's very rarely the same person, unless we're talking about Lindsay.
But if you're talking,
oftentimes she doesn't.
In the training sense, unless you have an incline trainer, if you're going up that steep of a grade, you're on a mountain and you got to get back down, so like I would think that they would be trained simultaneously, where a fire road, that could be someone on a treadmill working 10 to 15%, no technical aspect there. Could be some, that's what I was thinking. But if we want to separate it.
How do you consider yourself, Rich? Like, you're a pretty solid uphiller, but you're pretty tentative on most of the downhills. I'm weaker on the uphills, but I'm pretty aggressive on downhills. Like, I don't feel as if they translate 1-to-1.
Yeah, but I don't know how. I don't think I'm as good at climb. I think I'm in the Batters camp.
Oh, okay. You need that runnable grade, a little smoother.
Like, it starts to be like hiking.
Yeah.
But so if you had be as good.
If you literally did an out and back on that same grade, you'd excel on that same uphill.
I could run down that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But running down the 20%, I'm probably gonna go pretty slow.
Probably we need Bracken in the mix.
I'm probably gonna be pretty scared. Pretty scared.
I love that stuff.
Yeah, right. I know you do, Jack. It's especially following with the camera, some of these guys going down. Guys and girls, holy smokes!
Lindsay's on another level with that. Yeah.
So we would put descending in its own category then.
Yeah.
We'll do ascending, descending. For the sake of this, I'm just going to kind of bucket the two. I agree that those are different, like the fire road versus the super steep. But like, they're probably, if you're good at the fire road, you're probably better than someone who would be at just straight flats. I don't know. I'm going to put it in the same bucket.
Yeah.
So we have obstacle proficiency, fearlessness / grit, running, like flat. We're going to call it flat running for run metrics, right?
Yeah,
sure.
Just full on fitness. What about strength?
I wish you needed more of it these days. They have like a toothpick in Savage Race, and Spartan's carries aren't as brutal anymore without double carries. So I don't think it's as important.
Bring back the double carries of like Tahoe and stuff. That's
the Palmerton.
Palmerton, Vermont 14.
You can do that.
Double
Steve,
carries and a front bucket carry. Those
at the same time.
That's
2 sandbags, 1 bucket. Triple carry. It's up the ante here.
Triple carry.
It's good synergy for the 3K. 3 kilometers, 3 carries at the same exact time.
Yeah.
Now, is this too broad? But like, we haven't said the word mod yet. Is that all encompassing of everything we're talking about, or is mod its own thing?
Like compromise
mod
running
is the summary. Yeah.
Is it? I think it could be.
That's what I'm wondering.
Mod is the number 42. So, yeah.
Number 42.
Yeah. Never mind.
I'm not getting it.
Isn't that like the answer to everything in the universe or something? I thought there was. Never mind. Just move on.
I thought the letter C was always the answer.
That's what I thought too. Didn't do great on tests though. So mod, maximum available under duress, compromise running, if you will. I think this could fit into its own bucket.
Steve, what do you think of mod? What do you think of mod? Do you know mod, what mod is and what it represents?
Yes. So I mean, basically, it's running under extreme stress. So it's compromised running, correct?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So could that almost come under the obstacle proficiency? Because if you don't have that, going in and out of these obstacles because you are fatigued going out, especially like, okay, let's say barbed wire, for instance. Let's take, Jacksonville, super long barbed wire. Once you finish that, you still have to go back out again and, pick up the pace. And if you haven't trained that, which I believe that's where you guys are talking about, Maud, is that encompassing? Because you don't really face it that much in road running.
No, neither.
Maybe a little bit in, obstacle racing is where you absolutely like it. It's every quarter of a mile that you're facing this, and that's why it's so important. So maybe it should be in its own bucket.
I see what you're saying. That would kind of be like the flip of like mod is how, yes, like the obstacle proficiency would be, if you're proficient in obstacles, it would be less of a hit to your running ability as you go through it. So for that, yes, I agree.
It's basically what percent of your high end ability as a runner you can hold once you get into rhythm broken running, or you have to come to a stop and restart. Like, how high of your high end potential can you hold?
Under 50, yeah.
Under 50. I think it's got to be its own thing.
I think it's its own thing.
I think it's got to be its own thing because, like, if you could actually, I guarantee this, if you could actually say, okay, everybody 5K time trial within a month of their race, and then you only take the running segments from the race itself, like whatever their OCR is, I think there's going to be a very big difference in percentage lost amongst people. And yes, I agree. It has to do with efficiency. If you're efficient, you're not going to use as much energy through the obstacles. It's going to benefit your running in between. But mod is still just talking about the running in between. That's all it's really talking about, right? Your max available percentage of your run potential between obstacles. So I still think it's its own thing. I think Steve is right with his argument. And I think I'm right with my argument. I think we're both right, Steve.
Nice job, everybody.
Yeah, good job.
Nice job, everybody.
Everyone got the trophy.
You got a medal. You got a medal.
Yeah,
I'll take my medal.
This is where we're at. But yes, I think it should be its own thing. So now we're at obstacle proficiency. Like when I think of obstacle proficiency, like it would help your mod certainly, but it's like more seeing Kempson swing through without missing a step, arm over arm, as opposed to I don't know if you saw Riker take on that rig, but he tried to like jump and he was all which way and he's swinging around and he figured it out, but he muscled his way through it. Not proficient. Also,
my favorite part about Riker is he always posts like, "Oh, it was smoother in the race," and then it's like, "Was it? Was it actually?" So.
IT did get back to us, said that duck walk didn't happen during the elite race, so we'll see.
Who's your IT guy, Rich?
That's right. That's Riker. Yeah. That is right. Yeah. He was like, "Oh, but it was easy," because he's a hyper athlete, though, as we were talking about for the obstacle efficiency piece. Yeah. Obstacle proficiency, we have a grit, flat running, ascending, descending, and mod. What else? I think we should talk about strength a little bit. There's definitely a strength component in this. So let's just add that in here as well. What that means?
Minimum amount of strength required. Like I don't think you reach a certain point where there's no sense getting stronger. So it's kind of like the minimum strength requirements.
Jack, like when I think about strength,
who's
runners,
the weakest? Okay, go 1 through 4. Kempson, Roberts, Ryland, and Riker. Who's the weakest of those 4?
Probably Sean.
I was going to say Kempson. Well, okay. Either way, it's a debate between those two. And who went 1-2?
They did. Yeah.
How much does strength matter?
And look on the women's side, you got Chris Trogloski, Alex Walker, and Jamie Hornopoulos. Jamie's known for her obstacle proficiency. Alex always has some of the faster heavy carries in the sports, but like not being one of the bigger frames. And then Chris, who doesn't have a big frame, won High Rocks World Championship. So it's like it's so confusing what strength really matters.
All right, but who's stronger out of these 4? Sean Roberts, Ryan Kempson, Matt Centris, and Woody Kincaid.
Not Woody.
Not Woody.
Last. Matt follows.
Not Centris.
It's probably in the order you mentioned him.
So you saw, right? I assume you saw the video that went and Matt Centris did 10 pull-ups.
10 pull-ups.
Got the world in a tizzy. And
I sent it.
Yeah. Jack got Jack on tizzy. Jack was like,
I was trying to get it some debate.
look how good he'd be. It weren't even impressive pull-ups. I know like
They
second
were
graders that do
lockout.
pull-ups like that. Yeah, but they were like slow. They were no good. It was trash pull-ups.
Anyway.
I feel like we're like, okay, we can keep the strength. How do we want to dissect that? Do you have enough strength to do it?
But
is that it? You just check the box or you don't?
It's part of it. You can't come in with like the least, like the minimum amount of strength to like as a human being, like runner's strength. That's
you can't look like a high school runner, basically.
You're gonna get beat up if you're not strong a little bit.
It does matter because I was going to say, look at Hawk Call, what happened to him a couple times because he didn't have the strength.
Couldn't do the Herc hoist.
It does matter. I will admit that. Yeah.
However, there was poor technique involved in that. And I think there's a difference between technique and strength. And so you can be technically very good, but not as strong as some of the athletes. And I think that does matter in some of the obstacles.
And now we'll kind of go back into obstacle proficiency. You could probably make up your lack of strength because of obstacle proficiency, but I think there's still like,
you can't leave it out. You're right. You can't leave it out. You can't leave it out. Can you? Can you really leave it out?
It does make you bulletproof. Look at a guy like Hunter. He's not the fastest. He's not, if you're being objective on obstacles, he's not that good on obstacles, but he never broke down. And going downhill, then uphill, then downhill again. Like his legs were never trashed because he had that strength base in him. And I feel like it definitely does matter.
Strength is on there. Is there anything else?
Yeah, I feel like there's still, it looks like Steve wants to say something, but I
always
like well, they hear us talk all the time, so we need more of your opinions than ours. But isn't there something we can put a finger on? Like maybe you call it the Chris Rogloski factor, or you call it like there's an X factor. Like we use the word grit, and I could not agree more. That's very important. But then there's like that intangible, like ready for anything. I don't know what I want to call it. Adaptable.
Mindset.
Maybe it's mindset. Maybe
she has fun.
I think we're talking obstacle proficiency again. If you can look at something and dissect how to get through it quickly without being flustered, that's what Chris has. Chris is as good as anybody at that, seeing something and getting through it.
She was great at Gov Games for that.
Well, that's why she was good at Titan Games. That's all Titan Games too.
But that doesn't matter for high rocks.
There's definitely a mental aspect coming into a race, and we know this in lots of different sports, of knowing that you're going to do well, you're prepared well, you're mentally and physically ready. So I think the mental game should have its own bucket, really, in preparation.
I feel like something needs to describe the intangible piece of this all. I don't know what, but I don't know if I'd be happy if we didn't add one more a mental component other than grit, right? Like whatever that needs to be. Is there anything we can settle on? Whether it's you
anti-race brain.
Anti-race.
Don't get race brain.
You got race smarts.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you could like? Is there one right word? Like mental fortitude, of course, but like I feel like that's still so broad.
Composure.
I don't know. Rich doesn't like it.
I think we're still on grit. I think there could be a subcategory under grit.
How about this? How about range? Like, wouldn't that maybe like cover it? Because these races are so broad. Like, would range be the right word for it?
The people who do well have range.
So what I want to do next is take these pieces and then put them to the different races so that we can
stop.
So that we can see what when on each side, not necessarily range. So I think there could be specificity here.
All right, lead the way.
I'm still.
So nobody wants to give me this one.
I think it falls. It falls kind of in grit, to be honest. I don't know if there's a word to describe. I get where you're getting at for sure, but it has many different hats that it falls under.
I mean, I don't have the word for it either, so I'm not saying like.
Yeah. I do think you mentioned Chris Rogloski, and she just has fun, and Rylan, like he does everything. He has fun, like going out there, and I think that enjoyment of like just doing it. Some people just don't look happy when they're racing, and I feel like that has some type of role.
Are they having fun? Is that the box that they need to check?
I don't know.
But fun.
I don't
Well, they're
hate
always. I don't know. We always talk about how Chris is smiling and Rylan just like is doing
Kobe
everything
called
new and how
every
soaked.
time he
Yeah.
comes out there.
Yeah.
Fun is what you need. We're gonna start coaching fun. Do you have that in the Running Public coaching program?
Yeah, it's 3 minutes of laughing in between sets of repeats. It's
Ab
real
workouts.
drag. Actually, it becomes not fun at all.
Some giggle time. That's mental perseverance. All right, so we have 7 categories here. So now let's say, I guess just in general, what do we want to say is, I'll share my screen here.
I'm going to rank them.
We can rank them. I was going to put it as a pie chart, but I couldn't figure out how to do it. So we're just going to rank them.
Should get IT on it.
Yeah, when your IT's Nick Riker, you're kind of limited on what you can do.
Yeah.
All right. So here's what we got. You guys see this? Is it nice? Of course. Is it good?
I think Helen Keller can see it. It's so big.
Great.
Whoa, Jack.
Jack with Jack with that spice.
Got to get the comedy hour going, Jack. Right?
I know. Here we go.
Yeah.
Okay. So here are our 7 components: obstacle proficiency, grit, flat running, ascending, descending, mod, and strength. Steve, what do you think is most important?
Well, where did we put in like the overall like fitness?
Flat running.
He labeled that as
cardio ability. Essentially,
we'll just call this fitness.
Yeah, but there's leg speed as well. We've already got onto this.
Let's call it like straight line fitness.
Yeah.
Output.
I think before you would add on anything else, you would need this baseline, fitness. So I think that's the most important thing.
I strongly agree.
I'm not sure I agree.
I'm going mod.
Because if you don't have anything else, you've got nothing to build on. Like you have to build on top of the foundation. And your foundation is fitness, correct?
A 30-minute 5K can have the best mod in America, and they're never going to stand on a podium. That's all I'm saying. It's a percentage-based.
Okay, if we're going purely right percent, you're correct. Okay, I'll. You're right. Maybe I'm gonna. Yeah.
Yes. But like at the top, right? Like the example of what we just saw, the fittest person in terms of output, we could assume would be Sean Roberts, and he didn't win.
Maybe I'm going to go fearlessness and grit as my number 1 then. It's transferable to everything, obstacles and running, uphill, downhill, technical.
True, but if you have the best fearless and grit in OCR, that might be someone in the open category. It's not going to compete at the highest level. So
Alex Arnold is going to get spanked.
That's
as
true.
Fearless as they get.
Well, I'm talking. Are we kind of ranking these assuming only high level athletes, or is this to
That's
have
fair.
success?
That's
You
fair.
can pull something off the coach. Like
let's talk about it from the elite field.
Okay, because I was like, if we're trying to find someone who's sitting in their living room who's going to be good at this or just have fun at it and have their best race, that's a totally different ranking.
Good distinction.
So let's just assume everybody that we're sussing this out has top 10 potential. Like everybody in this is already qualified and certifiably fast-ish.
And we could, so right now we're talking from a broad sense. We could just be like Spartan Race. Now let's rank them. Savage Race. Let's rank them. DecaFit. Let's rank them. Because I think we'll get stuck on some arguments if we're not doing that as well. So let's do it with Savage. Let's start with Savage.
I mean, you got to go obstacle proficiency then in that
yeah.
case.
I actually will agree with Jack just because of the amount of obstacles and how proficient you have to be in and how much time that you gain from as we saw Kempson did. Obstacle proficiency.
Yeah, I think so. Like there's like this know-how thing that I'm trying to wrap my head around, but that doesn't it kind of encompasses all of this. But I think obstacle efficiency might be where I'm landing as well.
It was knowledge. I mean, knowledge of the obstacles.
Knowledge of obstacles.
Experience, essentially.
Okay. Okay. Kirk, what do you think?
Well, yeah, I agree. You want the next one?
What's the next one?
The next one's going to have to be mod, in my opinion, because if we're assuming everybody has good fitness already, right? And there's a lot of obstacles in Savage, that means that in-between time is severely impacted by all of the obstacling. So what percentage can you hold? I think that has to be next, in my opinion. You're hardly running unimpeded at all. Well, right.
What was that, Steve?
I think it goes hand in hand to obstacle proficiency. I was like, you know, what one with the other, and you know, that's what we're proving. I suppose, you know, we're talking about Savage, so we're talking about Kempson and how proficient he is. So he must be and yeah, I'm not sure how much of that is relevant in you know, the backcountry skiing that he's doing, but I suppose there is a bit of element of that.
For example, if you were like a mountain beast race, Spartan, I'd be like, mod is probably just on the list above strength on the bottom.
Yeah.
Because there's so much running in between.
You have a mile between stuff sometimes.
Right. But in this, I don't know. How would you, where would you put mod if you wouldn't put it next? That's what I want to know. Isn't it an entire race around mod?
Yeah, I was looking at that or output, because it is not, it can be some uninterrupted flat running, but I'm thinking about it for myself. If I was in that race and say it was even flat, maybe I'm getting sixth, you know? So I think mod's the,
I'd go mod, and then just after it, like a 2B type of thing would be fitness. I feel as though if we're looking at Savage Race and the series, you're going to have that Amelia Earhart Park in Miami. You're going to have that super flat South Carolina course. I know that's one of the ones on their schedule. Like, that's top end speed that matters there, and it's not super technical. And yeah, obstacle proficiency, I think, is more of the transition plus the obstacle. And I don't know how much mod necessarily factors into that, or if we're treating that separately, but I would say mod just ahead of fitness output.
Mm-hmm.
You'd put that, you'd put fitness output in front of fearlessness as well. Because I mean, I guess that could, like, the way I'm thinking of it, it can kind of be obstacle proficiency, but there's a bunch of other stuff like a teeter tuber, like that Tootsie Roll net situation, right? Like there's a little bit of. Are you
afraid of those?
Well, like you could get hurt. Like it's not going to feel good. You know, you're not going to be scared, but like there's like a physical pain component in most OCR.
If we're looking at this as everybody's already fit, right? Everybody already deserves to be there and has a legitimate crack at the top 10. I look at fitness, if that's the lens we're looking at this through, as what are you reduced to as your last resort? You suck at obstacles, your mod is shit, you're kind of a wimp out there. What's your backup plan, right? Like your fitness is what are you going to be reduced to at your worst?
And those people don't do that well. Those are the people Jack every year is like, this is the guy.
So I think that's how you have to look at fitness in this realm. If as to Jack's point, if this was just like taking people off the couch, fitness is one. But I think fitness falls below fearlessness if we're assuming everybody's already somewhat fit to start with. I think fitness is, I don't know, but I just think it's what are you at your worst? That's how I'm looking at fitness in this category.
I mean, is fitness more important than ascending or descending in Savage? Yeah. Strength, yes.
Maybe.
100%.
So it's between fearlessness and grit versus fitness at this point. And I think of grit as more, I don't know, their courses aren't super technical.
Yeah, but it's not like an easy race. They have a bunch of different obstacles that are slowing you down. Like you're going to mess up. Like you're definitely going to mess up in a Savage race. Right. And that comes down to grit a little bit, where a fitness athlete, like if they mess up and they get out of their.
All right. Yeah.
You know what I mean,
I didn't think of the screwing up part because people will have to repeat stuff. Yeah. All right. I'm fine. Well, I'll go fearlessness. Then
Well, Steve,
fitness.
what do you
switch?
What do you think, Steve? Fearlessness or fitness?
Well, it depends. I'm actually more on like leg speed and like actual speed.
You like the fitness
after these, so I think that would probably be more fitness for me in that.
Okay.
Rather than fearlessness and grit, because I don't think there's anything like obstacle wise or technical downhill that you have to have. I think with fearlessness and grit is that risk versus reward. Like the descents at a Big Bear race or a descent at Utah, where you can actually gain those minutes back that we have seen done in the past, like a Johnny Luna Lima or someone of that caliber of a downhill runner to get in, and Tyler Veerman as well has also done that, which I don't think you're going to get at Savage Race. So I'm going to have to say fitness.
I just thought, though, look at who won, Ryan Kempson and Chris Rogloski. Those two are willing to hurt themselves more than pretty much anybody in the sport to do what it takes to do well in a race. So maybe that grit and fearlessness does matter a little more.
Ryan posted something about his legs just absolutely chewed up. That fits right into that bill.
Well, let's look further down then. I mean, like
Nick Riker's willing to stick his nose in there, but he's not. He doesn't have the leg speed to keep up with them ahead of him.
He's not. I mean, he's pretty fit right now.
Oh, I know that, but I'm saying look at the gap. I guess he was within like a minute of Ryland, and Ryland does have good speed. So, but this is tough. You decide, Rich. You haven't chimed in.
I have chimed in. I don't know. I was leaning toward fearlessness and grit, but I'm thinking maybe fitness in this. Like you think of someone like Alvaro, right? Like his fitness is probably above all these other attributes in his case, and he does pretty well. Like he doesn't do well in all of them when it comes like the technical part, when the courses kind of throw off. But his fitness can get, and you see people on Savage where their fitness does seem to matter a little bit more. At least that's what we generally think. I might be going fitness here as well.
All right, put it down.
All right. And then we got fearlessness after, or do we think strength?
I'm gonna go not strength for Savage. Yeah.
Not strength.
I mean, what have you had that's involved strength and Savage?
It's a lot of upper body,
body through space,
vertical pulling. It's like strength endurance.
Okay.
I think it goes ahead because you're only going to get an advantage in the ascending and descending when it's like a mountain race. When it's just rolling hills. I don't think there's much of an advantage that you're going to get. So for me, for Savage Race, it's strength, ascending then descending at the bottom.
Lock it in.
I like it.
Do it.
Yeah, I was thinking like an Atkins, for example, on this. Like if he was on a course, even say like Maryland or Ohio, where there are some hills, I think you'd still have a hard time with Kempson because of the proficiency piece and like the output piece. I think Kempson and Atkins, I don't think there's a clear hierarchy in terms of who's more fit, but where Atkins has the advantage.
Has he done a Savage, Atkins?
Couple.
Yes.
Yeah.
He has. Recently? I can't think.
2 years. Lindsay DNF'd in Ohio a couple years ago. So
2 years ago it was, so not last year, prior.
Yeah.
How'd he do?
Or maybe it was last year. I don't know.
I think it was 2 years ago. I think you're right, Jack.
I thought it was 2 years. Yeah. It was like the first time after COVID that people started racing again.
How did he do? Did he win?
I thought he won. Yeah.
Because Woods DNF that one too, I believe.
Sean Roberts was in there. They had like a chain pull Hercois thing towards the end. I can remember it.
Wasn't there a tricky rig that people were like multiply sort of trying? And I think reasons why Ryan.
I think Atkins got it.
Yeah.
And Woods was right there until the end, and then something with like the cheese board or something. I'd have to look it up, but
cheese board was new. Right.
Yeah.
Cheese board was new. I'm sure he would do well. Yeah. But All right. So I like this. Obstacle proficiency is the most important, then mod, then fitness, then grit, strength, descending. I put descending in front of ascending. I don't think there's any long enough climb, and I think there could be some like sharp, scary downhills, but that kind of is grit-ish. All right. Do you want to do another one, or we just want to move on into the remainder of this series?
Yeah, I think we could do Spartan. Maybe
How's this
just
flip?
Real quick.
I think we take a quick stab at both hybrid and Spartan really quick. Let's not argue over it much, right? If we
ascending and descending do not matter in hybrid. So there we go.
But are we talking Spartan 3K or are we talking Spartan of old?
Ooh, good question.
But Spartan's very different because, a Big Bear venue is very different to a Jacksonville venue, which would, to be honest, mix up a bunch of this because you would need none of the descend and ascending on one. So I suppose if it's a mountain race, you would put the descend and ascending a lot further up. I think obstacle proficiency still needs to be relatively up there, but not as much as, let's say, a Savage race.
If we were to say, like, just take the Savage hierarchy that we just made and we flipped we put obstacle proficiency 3, mod 1, fitness 2, or maybe we could even put obstacle proficiency 4, if like a Las Vegas super or something.
Yeah. Well, it depends, because if we're talking about a 3K, then I think these seconds absolutely count. These 3K races, the obstacle proficiency, actually, I think it's going to be further up than we think, even in the Spartan race.
Let's pause on the 3K.
Right.
Let's just say a flat Savage, a flat Spartan. Maybe it's a little bit different. Savage is probably not that much. Obstacle proficiency probably not as important as mod and fitness and grit probably. But Spartan Mountain, that's a whole different deal.
Yeah.
So let's do Spartan Mountain quick.
Awesome.
I don't think mod is as high, but Kirk, you wanted to chime in, go for it.
Right to the top. I think fitness, you can't out anything but fitness when it comes to climbing. Like, I feel very strongly about that. But if we're looking at fitness as flat run speed, like Steve wants to look at it, then I would disagree with myself.
Yeah, it's like, are we talking engine versus speed?
Right. Engine, I think nothing else leads the way.
I would like to nominate descending. That's the most important.
That should be pretty high up there on a mountain.
I think
course.
It's a very strong number 2.
Yeah.
I think, we've seen people with exceedingly some of the best descenders in the world, not necessarily, they might not have the fitness. Even when we see a very good fit Johnny Luna Lima, he still needs that. I think the fitness.
Good point.
Overweighs the down. So I think, but
How come it took Steve to get you to put that on top, Rich?
I needed a better argument. You were thinking yourself into a pretzel. You're like, well, fitness, but maybe there's, and I don't even know.
I was trying to respect Steve's point of view on fitness.
Steve came in and he was like, "Here's an example." Bang.
Here's another example for descending. How often did we see Faye Stenning lead a world championship up that first climb, and then the downhill happens, suddenly she's not in the lead? And you see that in the men's field oftentimes with like Robert Killian's a good descender, but he was like, I have to get to the top of the first climb first to build a buffer because I know that better descenders are coming for me and I need a gap on Albin and Atkins and whoever's after me. Same with Woods.
I couldn't agree more that descending is more important than ascending. Yeah, I think I'm with you guys.
Is ascending more important than mod? Or is X factor like grit and like know-how in there as well?
I'd say grit, just based on how a lot of these courses are, they get nasty. And grit kind of goes to everything, whether it's obstacles, you get past, you're on a nasty ankle breaking section, uphill or downhill. I feel like it applies to everything, so I would put it ahead.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I see a lot on these big mountain races, that is still very relevant is, and it may come under the obstacle proficiency, is when we have something like a twister or something at the top of a climb, how people are, walking into the obstacle, doing the obstacle relatively slowly because they've just done a massive climb, and then it takes them a while just to get back up on the pace again. Where you see in Atkins, like running the same pace into the obstacle and out. So I think it still has, I mean, that may be a bit of more, that may be a bit of obstacle proficiency, but I think it's still relatively high because, as I keep saying, that you do that, you do that 30 times on a big super race, then that's a lot of time. So that could be the difference between separating yourself on a hill climb. So I'm not saying it is as important than the ascending, but I reckon it comes close after, because you still have to, like I've seen very good hill runners, mountain runners, be terrible at the obstacles and just losing so much. Yeah.
Does carries count as obstacle proficiency or strength?
I would almost put that as grit.
You put that as grit.
Because it's like, I mean, someone like Woods, for an example, right? Is he like the strongest? Like, no, but he's fit and he's decided that he will be good at carries and he could just kind of suck it up. Carries are just like uncomfortable.
Well, you just got to think about what you spend the most time doing and then how impactful it is, right? And like, I don't know how you can make a list without putting ascending next, because you spend so much time with the race doing it. Like, if you don't put that third, like, aren't we all a little backwards? I mean, it matters.
I'd put grit and fearlessness, because you might spend 30% of the course going uphill, 40%, whatever. You're going to have flats, you're going to have downhills. Those take up time, and your grit applies to the carries, which might not necessarily be ascending. They also apply to like when you're getting past, when you're really starting to hurt in the second half of the race and stuff. I'd put it just behind fearlessness and grit.
I'm kind of thinking the same. I'm kind of thinking like, is there an example, like, Jack, can you think of something of like a really good climber who just wasn't into the OCR part of OCR?
Josiah?
Well, he's still pretty good at like kind of running in and out of.
JP Donovan.
There you go.
Crazy good climber. Yep.
Would he have a hard time on carries and like mud and?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's still got a good grit. He's a good friend of mine. He lives up in Tahoe, but like, I mean, he is phenomenal at ascending.
Yeah. On the world or the U.S. mountain running team for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's not argue over it. Slap it on there. We got to move on, don't we?
Yeah. Hey, we can meander as much as we want.
Do whatever you want.
We can just meander. All right, I'm doing whatever on my list.
You're our sticking point, Rich.
I'm just trying to work all of the options out, making sure we're doing the right thing for the people. Okay, this isn't for me. All right. So we have fearlessness, ascending. What's left is obstacle proficiency, mod, and strength.
I'm going to agree with Steve here. Obstacle proficiency. I think I'm confusing the term proficiency as like you're getting through an OCR Worlds rig, but if we're encapsulating it as getting in and out quickly as well, I can't stress how many times I've seen big moves made and stuff during races because of obstacle proficiency and transitions.
I agree.
It matters
more than mod.
Kirk, you lived through it during your SoCal race, right? Like to start the year.
Was he talking shit right there?
I'm objectively a better runner than Glenn is, and I don't think he'd argue that right now. And yet he somehow beat me. I mean, he didn't race day one. Besides the point, but
good point.
But it was all I got hammed on the obstacles just because I was rusty, for sure. Mattered more than anything.
More than mod. So my counter to this would be.
I remember watching Atkins, and I know this is a flat course, but like a Spartan Sprint in Jacksonville. And watching him go in and out, and the way he moved that year we came back from COVID was like, obstacles matter. Obstacles absolutely still matter. And I saw it from him and VJ a couple of times where it was like, yeah, that made a difference.
Sergey in Abu Dhabi made a difference there.
Slow, right?
Slow is a good example of that.
Yeah.
Again, Abu Dhabi. Yeah, I agree.
The counter is Emma Cook-Clark being so good on the women's end and not proficient at obstacles at all. If Bracken was here, he'd be like, no, she's getting better, but like she's getting better, but from a pretty low quality of obstacler.
Why can VJ do what he does? Why can Kempson do what he does?
I'm just bringing up a
Chris
counter.
Jablonski hanging out at the top of the field.
You're countering my counter?
Yeah, I countered it.
I don't like it.
Steve,
what do you think? Steve, mod or obstacle efficiency?
Well, even as Spartan Race, I still think the obstacle proficiencies are key, because but it has to be multiple over, like, efficiency at picking up a bucket to picking up a sandbag to going through, and they're all different skill sets, but going through barbed wire to being efficient on the ins and outs of the obstacle. So yeah, I think I'm going to go with obstacle proficiency, probably either on the same level or just over mod.
All right, obstacle efficiency it is. Mod second.
See that as soon as Steve starts talking and telling you, you put it right there.
I was leaning that way.
Steve's voice of reason against. This is blasphemy.
He's making good points. You guys are making bad points.
It's called
That's simple.
Confidence, which
it's the British accent
thing.
I said it with confidence on this one. I think there's a little bit of guest bias going on, Rich.
It's the Minnesota accent versus, the Wisconsin accent versus the British accent. I'm leading British every time.
The British accent's fake. I'm actually from Alabama.
That'd be new to the show as well.
Yeah. Breaking news.
So all right, let's flip this for 3K. And this is something that the three of us who are typically on the show don't have really any experience with, and how this is going to change what is needed, we can think about it. We can guess about it a lot, but we haven't seen it yet. So we don't exactly know how the 3K is going to shake out, but how does this change things?
I think it would be foolish for us I don't want to derail this, but like Steve is on here. Could you give us like the 1 minute elevator pit? Like what should we be expecting? Just so that like we have info. I feel like it's relevant because you're literally going to be helping with that.
Sure. I mean, you got, the 113, so 1K, 1K, 3K, so 10 obstacles in 1 kilometer, anything from, a plethora of obstacles. They're going to be different at each race. But, at Jacksonville, where, without giving you the course map, we were expecting a carry. We're expecting mud.
Are you saying Palm Beach or Jacksonville?
Sorry, Palm Beach,
okay.
Florida. Same place for me. So flat and fast. However, the obstacles are going to come thick and fast. So we're talking about a bucket carry, barbed wire, several walls, rope climb, herc hoist, rolling mud, dunk. All of these things have, you have to be efficient through in this kind of 1K loop. For the final with the 3K, you're going to have, it's going to be a very tricky course with a obstacle efficiency is going to be very, very, very high on the list of getting through these quickly. So high octane. Also, I'm so excited with Palm Beaches of this new product from Spartan. So it's going to be an exciting one. And I think we're going to really find who's the best obstacle racer, not necessarily the fastest runner.
You're saying that there might be different obstacles at each venue, like it might not always be the same 10.
No, that's exactly what I'm saying. So like, just to give you a bit of a background, we're basically piggybacking this off on the sprint course. And so whatever sprint obstacles are going to be in and around the festival areas, what we're going to kind of use. So, obviously we've got laser pistol in there as well, which I don't think is going to make a massive difference. in its current format. A little bit, but not. You know, it's between the difference of, you know, you can do it if you're really efficient in 3 or 4 seconds, or, you know, if you wait for the whole thing, it's like 20 seconds and then it'll flash and then you go anyway. So, you know, it's a difference between like 15 seconds to be efficient and not efficient at that particular, which may actually make all the difference on a 1K course.
So I believe in an interview before, or maybe it was Matt Davis or somebody, you mentioned a double carry.
Yeah.
Can we expect it?
Yeah. If we have a sandbag there, then I'll do my very best to make that a double sandbag carry. We're not going to have a sandbag carry in Palm Beaches, but there will be a bucket carry.
You've got the sand there, though.
Fill your own sandbag.
Maybe. Who knows? I arrived there a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's helpful. That each course is going to be a little bit different. So you're basically going to design a course as you would typically design it, and then whatever fits the 3K format in terms of the layout, say like by the spectator area. Is what's gonna be.
It's how it's kind of gonna evolve and roll down, which is usually pretty exciting with, like, you know, obstacles from A-frame to, you know, a multi-rig or something like that, which is pretty cool. So we've got 10 to 12 obstacles in that one lap. So we're you know, possibly looking at, you know, 34 obstacles in that 3K final.
That's gonna happen.
And the last question, so we don't dwell on it too much, but what's the failure protocol?
Penalty loops.
Penalty loops on everything.
Do you have a distance on that?
Yeah, roughly 200 meters.
Okay, and there has to be some sort of.
Some of them will be carries, or you know, something like that. If we can't quite fit it in there, but they're going to be a distinct difference. So basically, like, let's say in Jacksonville, when we kind of tested it out, I think Heather Gornett was winning by quite a margin. Multi-rig was very, very, very slippy, so she just chose to touch and go. However, second place was very obstacle efficient, and I did the time. So it took her 44 seconds it took Heather 44 seconds from touching the obstacle to completing the penalty loop. And it took second place 9 seconds to complete the obstacle. Okay. So that was the kind of, you know, on a 1K course.
Yeah.
Even a 3K course, it's quite a bit.
Yeah.
Big difference.
Okay. However, if you're not obstacle efficient and you're faffing around on the obstacle, then it could equate to be the same time as, you know, the penalty loop, if you're there hanging around for 44 seconds.
So there isn't necessarily going to be like a, what do they call this kind of rule? Like, you have to like make an honest attempt.
I think that, yeah, it's very, very difficult to
It's very subjective.
Very subjective. We're dealing with that. We're in Mexico at the moment with some controversy of like a kind of a touch and go. But there's nothing in the rule book. You know, if you touch the obstacle, that is the attempt. Okay. At current format.
It seems like it's short enough where you're disincentivized to just try to skip, because I don't care how fast a runner you are, you're not going to make it through that in time and be qualify enough.
Efficient, someone efficient on the obstacles, it's always going to be the advantage to do the obstacle.
Yeah. Okay. I just have a question on the timeline of it. So you've got your 113, your 1,000-meter 2 qualifying rounds in the 3K final. Yep. Like, what's the spacing between those? Like, how many minutes between the heats, and how long should we just constantly be staying warm because we're going to go for our second round after that? Or
half an hour from each heat. So the idea is this, is every 2 minutes, a heat will go off in the qualifying round. So that's 3 heats. So 2/3 of the participants, however many enter, will go through to qualifying 2. In qualifier 2, there's 2 heats. 50% of those participants will go through to the final, which is 3K. So we're looking at, like, we're starting it off at like 4 o'clock, and then the final will be like 5:30.
And so, yeah, we're just giving you questions now. We're just throwing them. We got them. you're getting them.
Hey man, I see what you've done.
With the qualifiers,
Yep.
right? Like we're all this show is very steeped in like track and field, right? And a lot of times they will have qualifiers like your top 3 finishers automatically qualify through, and then they'll take the rest on time. Is there going to be a way to race your way into this, or is it all time based?
It's all time based. So you could, I mean, I doubt it'll happen, but you could get a whole heat not qualified if the second heat is faster. So it's all on time.
There's no big queue essentially like you'd see in the track world.
No.
Okay.
And will you stagger
Go ahead. Same question. Random assignment
or staggered by? Yeah, will it be
random assignment? It will be dictated, you know, like usually at Reg. Once we're established in this, we will hopefully get a better seeding record, and so we can get people spread around. But the idea is to make sure that you know, people ask why. I had a lot of questions of why we're having 2 heats. I mean, mistakes happen, especially in a 1K course. You know, we want people to have as much advantage as they possibly can to get through to the final. If they deserve to be in the final, they're going to be in the final. If for some reason they slipped off something and they only have 1 qualifier to do that, then you're not going to get your, you know, the best 15 in the final. So it does kind of cater for that, you know, for that slight mistake, because you've got to be in the top 2/3 to get into the next round, and then you have another chance, because usually if you're good enough but you have a mistake, then you'll get into that 2/3, right? Should be.
Yeah.
You won't see, like, if Atkins, you know, his shoe comes untied and he's in the 1,000 meter, he's probably fast enough to tie it to make it to round 2 as one of those top 30, but then he gets redemption in the second round. That's kind of what you're designing it for.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So we can't always expect there to be 45. There could be 30, and then it'd be 10, 10, 10, and then 20 to 10 for the final.
It's just 2/3 of that, you know, number going in. So
and then 1/2.
Obviously, we would like to fill that, and you know, but we want to fill that with quality, you know, and have it still a high level race. Cool.
Yeah. And you've had,
if you're interested, guys, and you know, and you're listening, you think, oh, I fancy a bit of that, then you know, send us an application. Yeah.
Go ahead, Jack.
I was just gonna say, I know that there was an application, so that kind of goes in here. I thought that you said that there was a 2-week time period before it opens up to other people. Like, do people? It didn't look like it was that clear. You kind of had to click on something and then read it to even know that that was the case. Like, so you should stress, if you want to race, you should probably sign up, or
we will. I mean, it's difficult to say if we're going to fill out, but I've got a strong feeling that we are going to fill out, you know, book out, especially in the men. But basically, we seeded everyone with the help of you, Jack, as well, to make sure that you know, you have 14 days. We sent out 14 days to you know, kind of like the top races in OCR, and then so that they not guaranteed a spot, but they're you know, they have the opportunity to enter. So when they enter, after that 14-day period is done, which I think is coming up very soon, then that will get opened up to people who have applied, and you know, and whoever else wants to apply until the, you know, and then it's first come first served basis.
Are you open to taking wild cards with no proven OCR or hybrid track record?
100%.
That has some. So you could take somebody who says, I was a collegiate All-American in cross country last year, looking to get into OCR, and you would take them over somebody who has a middle of the road OCR. track record, like chances like that? Would that be possible for anybody who's
I think there'd be few and far between, but we would definitely consider that. And you still got 45. You know, you look at the the quality of the field. There's still 45 spots, so I think that could be an easy pick over someone. I mean, hopefully the middle of the road person. I mean, it's difficult, and we've got a good panel of people to like make sure that we get the right 45 in.
What about a Harlem Globetrotter?
Good question. Ninja Warrior.
Ninja Warrior. Well, if Prince William decided to come in, I might get him in.
Get him in.
That's a good profile for the sport. Now, I mean, if we feel that they're like, I've got a lot of people advising me and a lot of people helping on this, and hopefully it's as popular as we hope it is.
They had two. The reason I say Harlem Globetrotters, they had two Harlem Globetrotters in the inaugural TMX. And they got
really? How did they do?
That was tongue in cheek.
They did as well as Kirk.
Busted that ass.
And the results.
They never made the finals. Jack, go home.
How dare you, Jack? Yeah. Kirk and I did not do well.
We're on the same team. Do you remember?
But we beat.
Jack? I know. You wear the same sunglasses, Jack. Back off.
Same. Yeah, I should be supporting you.
But... Same sun sensitivity.
Yeah, I'm probably more. Yeah,
probably more. You're in the same ballpark.
Steve, I've got one other question that I genuinely don't know the answer to. Like, a lot of people are concerned there's only the 3K. What's the season looking like for people like Kirk who want to do longer events, and what options are out there? I know that World Championship is having the beast distance, and I think the Pan America Championship as well, or the North American Regional Champ. Can you just go over that? I just want some clarity.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously we all know that Spartan has struggled a lot recently financially, and we've managed to secure hopefully a little bit of support with the 3K ideology of getting that into the Olympics. And so, without going sort of too deep down that side, we've had to, sacrifice, what I call the bread and butter of the competition of the sport for now. And hopefully that will be back. But that's prize money wise. As well as kind of like the championship wise, but there's still the Pan American Championship, which will be a beast. We will still have a beast World Championship as well. Yes, the prize money is not as great, we're in this unfortunate state right now that we're trying to survive as a company, but still. We do see that there is an importance to keeping the sport alive, and this is our effort to try and keep it here in 10 years time, and to especially it going into an OCR being recognized as an Olympic sport is definitely the big push. So this is one of our efforts to try and keep growing the sport.
I have a question that you don't have to answer.
Nice.
Well, no, I don't think I don't want to get you in trouble because I think you're the man.
I'm always in trouble, mate.
Just pile on.
I appreciate you to death, Steve.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, well, you've done so much for the sport and the brand, and you listen to emails that come in from athletes who are cranky from time to time,
which you definitely don't have to. Yeah, very nice.
You're very tolerant, and so it just shows your character. But
I've seen some of them; they're not nice.
Right. But when decisions are made on the back end of Spartan, like let's say to do laser pistols versus a spear throw, let's say in the 3K format, or to go to the 3K format, we only have X amount of prize money we might be willing to give out. Instead of focusing on a traditional series, we're going to the 3K, all those things. Are these decisions typically made by one person and then approved by a panel, or does a round table get together and start chatting out? Or is there like not a dictatorship, that's not what I'm asking, but like somebody who's like, this is best, can I get your approval? Or is it a coming together of brains?
There is
initially?
there's a lot of, it's a great question. There's a lot of brainstorming, and it's not particularly one person, and a lot of decisions are made with the sport in mind. And the thing is, it's like what's quite funny is if we hadn't done anything and the 3K didn't happen, and we would probably be accused of not doing anything to keep the sport alive. Now, if anything didn't happen, we probably wouldn't find ourselves in a situation that we would be able to provide a competition and a championship. You know, if we hadn't have got this 3K kind of thing together, and that derives from, you know, IOC World Obstacle to kind of help us, you know, in the direction of, look, you want to get this into the Olympics. And then Joe's like, holy smokes, like, yeah, let's go down that road. We want this sport in the Olympics. If this is what we have to do to get it into the Olympics. And unfortunately, you know, there's a bit of sacrifice to do that. But if we hadn't have done anything, I think we'd be in a much worse position and probably be accused of not doing anything. So who, going back to your question, I think there's a lot of different kind of angles, and it's not just one person kind of, dictating. And there's Jack will tell you he's been on, quite a lot of phone calls, and, I've tried to get as much information from athletes as I possibly can. I speak to you guys, and I speak to a lot of different people, and it may not be exactly what people want where the sport is going, but we're under some sort of, I suppose, guidelines, and we have to tick all the boxes. And one of the things I was focusing on is, trying to look after the athlete side of stuff. And what I got from a lot of athletes is, we've got to make it media friendly. We've got to make it, a lot of people were attracted to this loop course, maybe not the distance, but loop course, to make it spectator friendly, to make it very watchable, to make it approachable to sponsors and media, where we've really struggled in the past. And once you get those media and sponsors and, other stuff in, it can benefit the company, it can benefit athletes, and it can benefit the sport, on a whole. And it fits inside with what the guidelines have been for, getting OCR as itself, not part of pentathlon, into the Olympics.
I have one follow-up.
Work very hard on.
I have one follow-up tough question, then I'm done. And that is, who wants this in the Olympics? I don't hear any of the athletes saying, like, I want to go to the Olympics someday. I hope it gets in. Like, who wants the sport to get to the Olympics? Is it everybody? Is it, I guess I've never had that question. Is it a Joe thing? Is it a committee thing? That's my question.
Yeah, I mean, that is a great question. My answer to that would be the future generation.
Not us old guys. That's
where my vision would be the future generation. And I think a lot of people, I mean, I'm a massive fan of the Olympics, and I would love to see our sport. Me personally, I would love to see the sport in the Olympics. I think it's great for the longevity of the sport. I think we are on a plateau right now, and like, the more eyeballs that see this sport, I think it can benefit us greatly. So I would encourage a lot of people to get behind this, to encourage the sport moving forward.
We'll definitely be watching. We're gonna talk about it for sure. We're doing Palmerton. Kirk, you're doing it.
I'm doing it. Already signed up.
Palmerton's over there.
I have to apply.
Out of you guys, who's doing? I know, Kirk, you said that you might not be, but who's doing Palm Beaches?
Me.
Jack. BK's a maybe. BK's more likely than there's several conflicts that weekend. There's Go Ruck. I'm not doing that either, but there's also High Rocks. Anaheim, I believe, is the same weekend. So several.
Rich is right on the.
Richie, would you consider it?
I want to do Palmerton.
Sweet.
Yeah. I'd like, this is something, if the hybrid thing didn't pop up in the last, whatever, 3 to 4 years or whatever it was, I would be very excited for this.
Yeah.
So this is much more my alley than long course ascending, descending stuff.
Are there any other flat courses other than Palm Beaches?
Yeah, how much elevation are you going to be able to work into something like?
That's what I'm wondering.
Like a Big
even,
Bear, even Palmerton. Yeah,
I know it's Big Bear. Do you remember Spartan Cross at Big Bear? That's going to be very similar.
Okay. Little quick bumps up the mountain maybe, and then back down. Huh?
Kent said they almost got 1,000 feet on that, but that was a 3K.
Oh,
I think.
Are you talking the double sprint course, the VJ one, or are you talking Spartan Games?
The Spartan Games. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. It'll be interesting. I do have one more question for you, Steve. Because you do listen to the show, right?
Yes.
Okay, you don't have to lie, even if you didn't.
No, I've listened quite a few times.
Gotcha. So we had a discussion on ways to improve the sport and everything a few different times, and one of them we've talked about the sponsorship and how to get athletes more exposure.
I heard this one.
Have you guys ever, like, I know Jody, I mentioned that probably 6-7 years ago. Like, has that ever got brought up? Because I think that's one way to increase exposure to athletes. It's less out of pocket. The sponsors are kind of doing.
You're saying the team thing?
The team idea.
Yeah. So what's funny is that we actually have that on deck. Like, we have, I think about 2 or 3 years ago, and a lot of people have heard me talk about this as well, is that this has been my vision for a long time, to create something which is a format which enables to be able to sell a team to a sponsor. And I mean, you guys were discussing about putting it further afield, and like all these teams go and do multiple different, savage races and different stuff. But within Spartan itself, it definitely, this is the other advantage to having this 3K format on a Friday night, is having these team races. Super exciting. Vendors will be there, and you can have team, I don't know, Kraft, Yokohama, and then part of the plan, well, in the deck, part of the plan was using your tier list, Jack, with the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3s, is then have a draft day where you can have each, let's say, sponsor, or each team has 1 tier 1, 2 tier 2s, and 2 tier 3s, and then we cross country score it, and it's an individual race. But yeah, I mean, that would
be sweet.
Cross country scoring. We need some cross country scoring.
It could be absolutely incredible, and this has been my vision for about 3 or 4 years. Jack, Jack knows this as well. But we just did not have the format to do this, and unfortunately, we're not at the financial capabilities right now to be able to push this forward. However, that doesn't mean to say that this will not happen in the past. What I'm saying is that we couldn't have done it anyway with the current format. With this new format, I believe that we can actually do this and push this forward, and this will benefit and help, athletes and the sport alike.
I think you'd have serious buy-in, because that was a fun conversation to have on our podcast.
Yeah. Even if like a sponsor. Even if a sponsor would say like even in the 3K format, which doesn't excite me as the old Spartan format, if somebody was like, here it is, the sponsor is going to take care of you getting there, and you're staying, you're registered for free, and then it's up to you what you do there and if you make money or not. But like, even if that was covered, you'd have buy-in from absolutely anybody and everybody.
100%.
Just have all that covered. Leave the results up to me, but if I can get there, great.
And that's what we're working on. We got to take a lot of this lift of what's happening in the pro team off of Spartan, and we have to start putting this through sponsors, and we have to start selling this in order to have any hope, for the sport in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that would also help. Kirk kind of described it right there. Like, the result is on you. That would help with like the prize money aspect. But just one other question on prize money. So it's basically at the series events and world championship, and that's kind of, and the regional championship this year. That's kind of how, the whole prize structure of this year has gone?
Yeah, sorry, Jack. I just got there, but I'll start again. I got distracted.
Oh, no worries. Basically,
I'm being bugged at work, so I gotta disappear off in a minute. But yeah,
Gotcha.
Sorry, I'll start again.
It was basically just like break down the year's prize money. It's only at series races, not regular. Like, can you just go through, I guess, how prize money came into existence or not existent? Like, just clarify that, I guess.
So I mean, the whole big thing about this is keeping in budget, right? And it's just like, can we make this work by keeping like elite competition and championship races in there? So unfortunately, we had to cut a lot of like just the regular, the 531s or 532s, however we did that out at regular races, and we then repurposed that into into prize money. Unfortunately, budgets have been cut across the company. We all know that. We've lost a lot of my very good friends to the job, unfortunately. So there's been some huge cuts. However, we're still trying to keep the sport alive, and we have to shift a bit of money around. So there's decent prize money at some of the 3K events. So I think it's 1,500 for first place at each of the 3Ks. If you win, if you win the championship race, I think it's 5K for men and women for the first place. I think it's 531 or 532. And then and prize money at the Pan America, prize money at Europeans, prize money at Worlds for both beast and 3K. A lot more for the 3K. I think it's 2015 5. No, what was it? It was 2015 10 for the 3K Abu Dhabi.
Gotcha. And I don't want to put you on the spot or anything, but were there ever talks that there might not even be prize money this year, or cuts to it and stuff? Like, how did that go?
Yep. To put it bluntly, yeah, it's been super tough, and we're trying to keep the sport alive and trying to push forward with the OCR into the Olympics. And that's one thing that is attracted to us, and that's one thing that we're trying to focus. And you'll see that little focus on the prize money on that 3K and the reasons why we're doing that. And hope it probably will, and I hope that it will attract other other competitors as well, and other athletes. And it's a strong direction of sport change, but it's one way of keeping that sport alive. Gotcha. And not saying that it's never going to go back, because I love the grittiness of like the Vermont, the Killingtons and the Big Bears and that kind of stuff. And I hope one day that will be a strong feature in a world championship as well.
Gotcha.
Cool, Steve. Well,
big, deep, heavy stuff.
we really appreciate you popping on, being honest with us. We'll let you go. You got work to do. Got to do work. So, yeah. So again, appreciate you. We'll see you out there. You'll be in Palm Beach. That's soon. I will 100%
be in Palm Beach. Really excited for that. So
3 weeks or so.
3 weeks. Yeah. 3 weeks. Yeah, that's true. That's coming up. So that'll be fun. We'll definitely be talking about that.
Come and say hi, Jack.
4 weeks. Yeah. Yep.
Jack's going to be out there just doing work.
Jack on site.
Jack on site, always.
Good.
Cool, Steve. We appreciate you.
Hey, thanks for that. It was brilliant having me on. Thank you very, very much. And I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
So, thanks, Steve.
All right.
So just to circle. So that was nice. Let's circle back to
Heard it from the horse's mouth. So
yeah, right. So we got some cool info there. Some stuff to follow when it's time for 3K stuff. Some clarity on some things, but just to see how that's all going to operate will give us a better idea of when we're drafting what we need to go after.
Right.
What we need to go.
I'm not getting last again this year.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. And so let's just circle back to Savage for a second.
Yeah.
So the next race is like in 2 weeks. The Gainesville race. Yeah, it's April 8th. Let me pull up the series here. So it's interesting how this does all work. So was thinking
Ian
like,
Hosek's showing.
is he going down? Yeah,
Yep.
because we still could have more people. Is there word on anyone else who's showing up?
I just saw a post from him. Ian Hosek will be there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's been off the radar for like 2 years. It's going to be fun to see him race.
He's just
Speaking
getting
World
this
OCR,
World OCR is USA OCR up and running.
Yep.
And he's coming into because they weighted the point series real heavily towards Savage for the to make the Team USA. Like you basically have to do Savage races and do pretty well.
I think it's mainly because in Europe you're gonna have harder style rigs and stuff. That was probably there.
I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense. Having I don't know, but like I think they should just pick the team. Like these are the best racers.
Yeah.
You guys go race.
If you want to go, let's go.
Right. Like that. I don't think there needs to be a Jack Bauer point system as much as they're trying to make it be. So we got Gainesville coming up, and they're the Savage series. They're just doing it straight up, 100 points, right?
Yeah, I saw an OCR report post on that. They had like a little infographic on it as well. I'll pull it up in the meantime. But
and you're like, ugh. So
disgusting.
So we got it's basically a race every month until November. We get a race off in.
How many of those are series races though?
That's what I'm saying. There's 7.
All of them?
Well, no, there's more that aren't series races, but there's a series race just about every month. There's Georgia's March, Gainesville April, Maryland's May, Ohio's June, Chicago July. Kurt?
Chicago.
Get there. August, September off. Dallas is the series is too long.
The only mandatory one is the final Florida one
in November.
Yeah.
So you would have to say you don't do the first 2. Like if I was Kempson, I'd be like, great. I don't think I would do Gainesville. It's too close. Or maybe I would capitalize on this fitness and be like, all right, I'm the best right now. So maybe I'll go get my second one, or maybe just like ride this out for this first 3 months, hit Georgia, Gainesville, Maryland, and then Dallas and Florida. What would you guys think? Does that be the move?
If considering that, I think you strike early, especially if not everybody's quite in the fitness where they want to be yet, and then take your mid-season breather, reset a bit, decompress, and then come back again, break it into 2 as far as your training cycles go. So that would do.
Yeah. On the flip side, oftentimes the first couple races of the year, you see this at the Spartan series, those are the most stacked because everyone's super amped about it and they think they've got a shot, and then a couple of results happen and they're like, I'm not going to pursue it. So maybe you go to the last 5 and then suddenly you have better results.
True. Like you can get a combination. You can get a combination of both. Like if Ryland decides this isn't for him, like he might not show up at the rest. I doubt that. He's not a good example, but someone like that, Yeah. So
anybody got word on Hawk Call? What his intentions are?
Jack, what is he telling you?
Jack,
I haven't talked to them for a couple of months. I know that he's definitely looking stronger though, and I know that Rich is going to mock at that, but because I saw him doing a couple deco workouts.
Not that I don't mock him.
You mock the interaction I had with him, saying that he's going to come back and strong.
I mock your willingness to accept anything he says, and you're just like, correct.
Just leave him. I'll draft him. Whatever. Just leave him alone.
Good.
Yeah.
But he's not confirmed like for the 3K Spartan or Savage or anything. We don't know. All I know is like there's videos of him in a ninja gym, and I certainly don't think he's doing that to go show up at random Spartan Race Super to win no prize money.
Maybe he's going ninja route. Maybe he's going to be on.
Yeah, and he's going the ninja route. So he must be training for one or the other. I'm assuming Spartan 3K.
I'm assuming Spartan simply because it's less travel to do. There are 3 races. Did he go to Mexico last year? I thought he did.
Does Hobie get like a pension, you think, from Spartan? They just give him money every month. Now Hawk gets to ride that in.
Probably some side deal with Joe back in the day.
Because he was the one. Kirk, you mentioned seeing like Kent and Killian. It was Hobie when I was really looking at that they were shoving down my throat. He was on everything.
Oh, were they?
Huh.
Yeah, big time.
Hunter was mine.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I heard Hunter on the Wadcast podcast. It was one of the first podcasts I ever listened to, and I was like, dude, this dude is a.
Have you heard his transition? Like he went from so much more low energy, and then he turned into a professional wrestler. Like over the years, just
I always thought he was funny.
Yeah, I agree, but like you watch him on some of the first NBC ones, and he's just like pretty mellow, not too animated. He's like, yeah, it was a good race, and I'm like, that's not Hunter. I don't know who this robot is.
He's created a persona, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this controversy there was a tire toss. Did you see
Ring
this, Kirk?
toss.
Did you even see what the
saw
obstacle
the
was?
pictures. Yeah, I saw the pictures of the obvious cheating, if that's what you're referring to.
Big time cheating. And yeah, like, so it's essentially a ring toss obstacle, Jack, as you mentioned, where it looked like you took a tire and had to toss it onto a slanted peg. But how far do you think that was? Like 5 feet?
10 feet, if that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Not
you just couldn't go past the piece of wood on the ground. That was kind of like your barrier. So like the force of throwing it, you just couldn't. It was like shot put. You don't want to cross the front line while you're throwing it over it.
Yes.
But it didn't look hard.
It didn't look too hard. No, Kempson missed a couple, had one bounce off. Looked like it was going to be on, and then it bounced off, like the equivalent of like your spear sticking and then falling out.
Yeah.
And he just started running, and he did turn. And I think he mentioned this even in a post. He turned and looked, and a volunteer was like, no problem, go ahead. Or even someone from Spartan or Savage or something like. So it's the same issue that we run into all the time. Like, the volunteers weren't prepared enough, or whoever is the head of the thing just not backing what it was supposed to be. And yeah, now we're sitting here with another freaking controversy. So I think I'm not that worried about that. I don't think Kempson did anything nefarious here. I think he thought it was on, and maybe he didn't know the rules, and obviously the volunteers didn't know the rules. But with Savage doing this is such a Spartan obstacle, right? Like, this is the spear throw.
Yeah.
What do we need this?
They have hole shot also, which is basically like a wall ball that you have to throw through a hole,
right,
on an angle. So they've had a precedent of doing similar things like this. You got to give it to them. They try new stuff.
They definitely try new stuff, and that's what they probably won't bring this back. They're probably like, we're not doing this again. But I guess is so with the spear and with something like this, it was actually a little exciting when Kempson started missing it, because Sean Roberts came and hit it up right away. Yep. And if he missed it, if he did miss it and they made him call back, who knows how many more times he's going to miss it. So it can kind of condense a race back together, right?
Yeah. Which
is exciting for OCR in general. But like, I don't think I love these style of obstacles. With that one in particular, like, you're doing more work. I'm always kind of like, well, if you're penalized by doing more,
fitness.
It's not fitness.
Yeah.
Right. But like, do we think like accuracy obstacles or accuracy tasks, let's call them, is this something that we need?
I like it.
You guys like it?
Yeah. They need more balance. They need more skill. Like,
you
just
don't
think
want
of
balance.
Yeah. I'll have to work on it.
Balance is boring though.
But it's also a skill. We saw it when all of the top US athletes went over to Greece. Killian, Woods, Atkins, they all fell off slackline. Because that's just not in the US, and all the European athletes, they did it great at Trifecta World Championship. I feel like mixing it up, just because we're used to a certain style of obstacles. It's okay. You have 30 of them over the course of a race. Throw one or two weird variables. It's not like the memory thing that they used to make you do. Like, this is literally using your body to, in a thrusting motion, throw something, and like it's a skill. It's not just a complete joke. Like, it's not like making a free throw necessarily, which I guess would be comparable to a spear.
About the same. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't mind it.
Kirk?
I like it. I only like it because we have, if you want to measure output, we have avenues for that now. If you want to worry about your pure output, station work, whatever, we have hybrid, very low skill, high output. I think if OCR isn't your jam and you don't want to balance and throw things through hoops or on pegs, then you have an avenue now, at least. And so I think it should stay pure to that, like, I don't know, stupid stuff once in a while. I think it's okay. It is stupid. Of course, it's throwing a tire on a peg is dumb.
But this is OCR we're talking about.
But this is OCR, and I expect nothing less. And so I think because we have the option of hybrid, I don't mind. In fact, I think that's what I'm sort of missing with the more standardization of, like, Spartan, for example. It's just kind of that randomness I kind of like. So if it's an accuracy thing, it's an accuracy thing. I don't hate it.
Is it kind of like why CrossFit is pretty interesting, even though it's essentially like lift something from the ground and put it over your head one way or another, do some gymnastics thing. It's like, oh, you face the wall this way, now you're going to face the wall that way this year and switch it up. Oh, you've done single jump ropes, now we're doing double unders. You just kind of
still an unknown.
Yes, it's the same concept to complete a task, but they just change up how you complete it. And most of the time you're going to see power cleans and thrusters and, you know, all the standard movements, but occasionally they'll mix it up and have feet away from the wall or feet facing the wall, handstand push-up. It's like a new movement, and it's like, oh, well, that 1-1 is the one that everyone's talking about because it's different, but the rest of it's still the same and you still go on your way. I feel like Savage is the CrossFit equivalent, where like most of the stuff, it's like, oh, okay, you're going to have a few rigs, you're going to have a warped wall, you're going to have this, that, and you kind of know what you're getting, but they're willing to try that one new thing that gets talked about.
I don't mean to derail this, but even thinking of something like a Hyrox or a DECA, would it be more or less exciting if a week out, they're like, here's the magic wheel of stations. We're gonna announce it a week out, and here we go, and it's a live thing, or it's put on there. It's like station 1, wall balls. Oh shoot.
Yeah.
Station 2.
100.
Like wouldn't there be some probably extra appeal in that, or would you think it would actually, like, the unknown, I think people still crave, is what I'm getting at. That sounds exciting to me.
I think some people do, and that concept is something that they actually did at the CrossFit Games one time. They called it the hopper. That used to be their whole concept.
That was
like,
at the ranch.
Oh, it was the hopper.
Yeah, like we'll just.
Oh, back in the rant, really?
Yeah, they had an event like that, and that's kind of the idea of CrossFit in general. And I think I think CrossFit kind of fits that need of the unknown and unknowable, where something like a hybrid, the predictability is what is appealing. It's like, I know what I need to work on. I'm going to work on that, and then I'm going to test it and see how it goes. It's much like a marathon.
Yeah.
You know?
How did Hyrox Miami go? Like, that was in the sand. You think that's comparable? People were like, it's outdoors.
It was like 10 minutes slower.
Yeah. It's just not comparable.
Right. So I think that's a little bit of the appeal of it, though, is like trying to get the repeatability.
Yeah,
we don't need to get into that, but I was just curious about.
No, you're right with phrasing it that you have different avenues that you can go down to if you want one skill set or the other. Because it's not a proponent of. I just don't like the. It's not random. It's a skill. But like you can put extra words. It's like not fitness to me. I can't believe I'm saying this, Jack. But I'd almost rather that shit be a puzzle. Oh.
Then
Chris Rogowski is unbeatable at that point.
I think if they put a Spartan race on the roads, you'd be first in line.
I
think
did you ever do the city one?
Hard terrain. I think you'd have a different tune if it wasn't on such junk terrain all the time.
For Carson. Yeah.
I would bust that ass. You're damn right.
Smarting a little bit. You know it's true. You know it's true.
I think you're terrain biased as much as obstacle.
I'm talking. Well, I would want to see a puzzle instead of a spear throw. How about that? Give me a puzzle.
How many pieces?
Not like a jigsaw, like
1,000 piece. You're there for like 8 hours.
Let's just lean into how.
No, I'm talking a puzzle.
Like have
a shift one or something. Yeah.
3 or 5 different type of puzzles. Yeah, like a slider puzzle.
Make a pyramid. Something pretty fun. Yeah.
Just a straight up puzzle. Give
Stack
me that.
Cards.
I want to see dogs playing poker.
That's it. Yeah, we should sit down, push your chips in,
and then I'll move on. Yeah,
might as well.
To Twister. After
we got laser pistols. We're talking about laser pistols. I'm talking about puzzles. Basically the same thing. Yeah. So we don't have too much to talk about. We'll have more to talk about next week. Jack, going to be up in.
I'm racing.
Sacktown. Is that where
second panel? Yeah, Sacramento, in the heart of Sacramento. So Kirk got his race out of the way. You got your race out of the way. I'm the second to last to do it. So Bracken's the only one who's wimping out.
Get it, dude. How's your fitness right now, man?
I'm pretty confident. I think it's or fit, not strong, right? But yeah, I'm feeling good. I think that I'm expecting to set a PR, and I think this year is going to take much faster times than last year, just with the growth of hybrid and like new people coming into the arena. You're going to see some people from Hyrox, like didn't Colin Stifer, he already came over for DECA. Like you're going to see people who can run come into DECA, in my opinion, and like a few other people might be like, well, this is like the best prize money that's out here between OCR and hybrid. Might as well give it a shot. So I think that the marks that qualified last year, it's going to be even faster. So I know I've got to step up my game, but I'm feeling good.
Yeah, they didn't change anything. So this is the third race of the season, and they've done a good job in terms of the predictability, the measuring out the courses. They seem to be correct. Yep. There's some standard stuff that I'm sure they could clean up. Lunges. Whether that's taking the lunges, making them walking lunges. Yeah. Right. Like or
the whole field looks like they're jumping lunges at this point.
Except me.
Except Jack takes his damn
Guess
time.
who's gonna be this time?
Comes out 30 seconds behind everybody.
I'm not turtle mode this time.
No, you gotta fudge that, man.
Yeah.
And I think the deck of strong could be really, really improved this year. Someone like a Colin, Marcus Wallace. Hey, shouts to Marcus Wallace, world record holder, 2601 race brain short course.
Yeah.
Saw that.
He said he was like, what you guys did, you guys predicted how long all of those things would take while you're fresh.
Solid.
I was like, yeah, I guess you're right.
You're right. Yeah. If Lauren's taking 30 minutes, he's taking 26. It's like,
we're wrong.
We're off. Yeah.
It still looked.
You see that video? I'm sure y'all did, or the post about the girl who won her high school state meet all by herself.
The
high school state championship.
She won like the 32, the 16.
No, so a girl in Ohio, a high school girl in Ohio, won the team meet, and she was the only one from her high school who qualified for the state championship.
A distance athlete?
No, so she won the long jump, the triple jump, the high jump, and the 60-meter hurdles. And she won all four, and she won the state meet. So she's on top of the podium.
40 points was enough?
She's on top of the podium by herself with the state team title.
Amazing.
That's cool.
Isn't that sweet?
That's legendary.
Anyway, that happened. Can you imagine?
So 1 year ago, Rich, you might actually know about this. 1 year ago it was in San Jose for DecaFit. The second or third place woman, Ryan Hierholzer, that's her new name, but I think it's like Ryan, and it's not like Ryan Ack. It's the same spelling, but a girl. But she's from Pennsylvania, and she ran at Kansas State, I want to say, and she still holds like several state records in track and field. And she did the same exact thing as a sprinter, where she won like the 100. It's like Ryan Kraus or something. I forget the last name, but she's in her early 30s right now. So you might have actually heard of her at one point, but she won the entire state meet in Pennsylvania for whatever division she was in by winning 4 individual events.
It'd be tough to do it as a distance runner unless you were just the prodigy of all prodigies. But field events that's still there's a lot of rounds and all that.
Yeah,
it's still impossible, but unbelievable.
There was a pro runner who he ran at Stanford, but he was from New Hampshire. Russell Brown. Do you remember him?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember Russell Brown, the runner? Yeah. But he's from New Hampshire, and he won the state meet in the 32, 16, 8, and I want to say the 400. He only ran like a 50 flatter because he was in the lower division.
It's New Hampshire.
But he still did it.
Ryan Crace, you're right. She went to I remember she went to Methacton High School. I just looked up real quick. Yeah, she was nasty at like the 300 hurdles is what we had back then. I think she was doing a bunch of other stuff. Where did she go to school?
I thought it was Kansas State. Or Kansas, like something like that. But she did DecaFit, but then I think she just had a kid. So like right as she was entering the hybrid scene, now it's probably not going to happen. But regardless, a phenomenal athletic career she had.
Yeah, I thought it was UCLA.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Maybe she transferred, but there's 2 of them on there. I thought it was UCLA for sure is what she went. Yeah, I do remember this person. Yeah. Thanks.
There's always going to be people out there who make you feel like you're not good enough. Not doing enough.
Yeah.
Not make you feel will always remind you that you aren't good enough.
How many points did you score for your team at the state track meet, Rich?
I didn't run indoor. 0.
We got second place in the 4x8. So 8 points divided by 4. I got 2 points individually.
But indoors? You guys had that?
We had 4x8 indoors also. We made New England's
indoor 4x8 in New Hampshire. What is that, like an 8:10?
We ran an 8 flat .07 outdoors, so we were pretty good.
Smoking. We ran 8:02 my senior year. We felt real good about that.
We were 0.07 seconds away from breaking 8, and it kills me. that we didn't do that.
We were 757, so.
Oh,
really? That's flying, dude. That'll win some state meets.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
So we all had good teams. Like right anywhere around, you get 2 flat guys at the same high school. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I got third in state outdoor. However many points that is. That's 6.
Good job. And what?
It's the 1600.
You got third and you're a 414 guy. That's pretty good.
PA's no joke.
Yeah. No, we had my teammate Ben Kutu. He got 423 and he got like 4th in the 16. But yeah, usually it was one in like 412 to 414. That was kind of the stand. And then this kid Francis Hernandez won 407 a couple of years after I was done. So that's the state record, I think.
Well, I took 9th place in the 800, didn't make finals, and made 0 points.
Dang.
So suck it.
What in the prelims was that? Would you run like a 159 not get through?
158.3, and we went out in 62, and we finished in. We went out so slow. We were the first heat, and then we all kicked home, and I was like literally like the 7th one in my heat.
Shoot.
Yeah.
That's
I was
tough.
so they took top 20 for the 32 and the 16, which I met the provisional marks or whatever the qualifying mark was to do that. And I was ranked 21st and 24th in those 2 events for the 16 and the 32, and like 5 people scratched, so I didn't get to race it, and they had smaller fields, and I was like, they ran whatever event it was earlier in the day and just decided not to show up. I think they did 4x8 earlier or the open 8, and I'm like, you guys just cost me a chance of racing in the state meet. I was so bummed.
It ain't right.
Nope.
Ain't right. Well, you have a chance to race this weekend. You're gonna tear it up.
Yep.
And
Good
we'll
luck,
talk.
Jack.
We'll talk
Go
about it
get
next
'em.
week. We
Appreciate it.
have that. So we'll do like a DECA thing next week, and then we will
Season preview something.
Yeah, season preview.
We're gonna have some names there. The women's race is also
yeah, give us some names. Give us some names.
Let me just pull up my text with Yancey because I sorted through everything. Okay,
is it a text or is it a?
I had an audio message, but most of it was text.
Okay.
So we've got Lauren Weeks. Obviously we know how good she is. Champagne 35-45, so she's got some wheels.
She was top 12.
Yep. Ooh. Calypso Sheridan. I know you've mentioned her a couple times in hybrid space. She went 20-40 in Deca Mile. That's faster than Lauren's PR, and she was consistently right around like 10 to 15 overall when you combine age group plus elite Spartan last year.
Nice.
Teresa Chilkova, I think she recently got married, so her new last name is Rumfala,
and she's good at stadiums.
Yes, and she just won Arizona, something like that, Las Vegas recently.
Bracken and Kirk took her in a draft.
Yep.
Didn't know who she was, and she ended up getting like 8th place or something like that.
Exactly.
She's awesome.
One of them.
Yep.
One of those picks.
Alicia,
I got her jersey in my closet.
You definitely do.
Sure. Alicia Keeker, who was on the podium last year.
She would have been top 12.
Yep. Ashley Heller, she'll be there, so that's going to be exciting to see. Leslie Hackett, who went 30, she was in the 38s for Deca Fit. And then there's one name that's brand new. She's a multi-time world champion stand-up paddleboarder. So clearly has
this. Yeah.
She has like the top end ability. We have no idea how she'll do, but like,
does she, or she just like have good balance and stuff?
Is
like,
paddleboarding technical or output?
Yeah, exactly.
Like long distance stand-up
paddleboard.
Yeah.
You're going like,
It's probably a little more intense.
It's like canoeing.
I remember Corinna Coffin. She did stand up paddleboarding a few times. And she was like, it was so much more taxing than she thought. Like she did a couple of races, if I'm not mistaken. So
if you're racing for time over distance, it has to be absolutely exhausting.
You think if you could get to your VO2 max on a stand up paddleboard?
That's impressive.
I don't think
I'll pay you.
Imagine how nasty. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, who we got on dudes? Jack Bauer,
Ryan Kent, and Rylan Shadig going head to head. That's going to be
chumps.
Fun to watch. Couple bums. They're not world champs in Deca Fit, unlike someone on this podcast.
Nothing.
I think I'm going to have a good battle with Forrest Vogue again. We've had a couple good Deca Fits through the years. He's making his return. Jeremiah Mahan, who got 4th. He finished 3rd in our heat, but Anas was there last year. Anas will not be racing because he's doing Ramadan, so no energy realistically without eating during daylight hours. Taylor Turney flying down from Alaska. That'll be cool.
I like that. I like that.
Making his debut. Aaron Nolan, who went 18:33, made Deca Mile World Championships. I think he was about 10th. John Howard was 11th. He'll be there. This guy, Lucas Garrett, who went 1933 in his first ever Deca Mile a week or so ago. We'll see how he does. Like, clearly he's got potential coming in fresh. But yeah, you've got a solid, like, and then there are 4 or 5 other guys who've gone 35, sub 36 in there. So Dustin Needham and a few others. It's going to be pretty cool to see. And then I'm teaming up with Forrest Bogue for the relay after. So
I thought you were going to go with Kent.
No, Forrest and I were talking. I thought Kent was going with Rylan. I like, if Kent wants to do it, I might have to.
You should go with Forrest. You should go with Kent. Forrest should go with Rylan, and you guys should battle.
Just battle. Okay.
How much of that smack talk on the internets is real between you and Kent Rich? And how much
100%.
Yeah,
dude, we went to the Nuggets game.
They accidentally sat next to each other.
Just happened to sit next to each other.
Dude. Such beef.
On Saturday, and they were throwing little basketballs into the stands, and like dickhead was sitting right next to me, and he fumbled the ball, couldn't catch it. I caught it, and then had to give it to him to make him feel better.
It's like giving a little kid a ball.
That's exactly what happened out here. You take this. You need this more than me.
That's adorable.
So he's second place in catching stuff also. So.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Have you got? So you caught something, Kirk? Have you ever caught anything in a crowd giveaway thing?
I threw stuff.
Okay. I caught a home run ball in batting practice at 2 separate occasions, and I was a little kid, and I gave it away to a different little kid the second time because I'm like, all right, I already got one. And then there was
no proof.
Pokey Reese on the Boston Red Sox at the time hit it, and Doug Mirabelli for the other one. But then the other time I was at Monster Trucks, and they threw away t-shirts with one of those launchers, and I caught one of those things, and it was like a kid's super small, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give this to Audrey. She opened it. It was a kid small. She went to the like the ear merchandise area, and they gave her an adult size like that, and she still has it.
It's a smart move. I would have just been like out of luck.
Yeah. My cousin was a captain of the Milwaukee Bucks dance team, Energy, and we lived together in college. So she was dancing for them, and they'd travel all around. But they'd always need like fillers for the halftime. They'd be like, dude, we need somebody to fill the sumo suit. You interested? And I'd be like, yep. And so I'd go get to do stuff like that. You want to go crab walk backwards across the court at halftime? Be like, yep.
Yeah.
And so once in a while you get to throw crap out. So I ended up on the Milwaukee Bucks court quite often at the Bradley
That's
Center.
amazing.
It's pretty cool.
Free tickets every game too.
Yeah. That's sweet. That's who the Nuggets just played. Beat that ass.
Yeah. The only time I got on the basketball court at a big game, they had one of those Marines pull-up contests. And back in Houston, when I was living there, they had the NCAA slam dunk contest. And during the intermission between the 3-point contest and the dunk contest, they called me down because I ended up winning the pull-up contest. So that was cool.
Right, baby. 6 is a lot.
Yeah, you and Matt
6? No, I think I got 25.
Did you go against Matt Centrowitz with his big 10 spot?
Nah, no. Yep.
All right, we've gone too long. We're
Way
wrapping
too
this
long.
thing up. We'll see you guys.
Bye.
See you.